All right, it's Sunday, September 14, 2014. You're inside of the Africa Forum, Running Africa. And my name is Kabu Ma'at Kiru. My broadcast assistant this morning is Joy Morgan. We go through until 10 o'clock. That's when the Big A comes in with the Sunday sunshine. Special welcome to you if you're on the internet at IRIFM.net. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning to you on the 107s, 107.1, 107.2, 107.3, all the way to 107.9. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the space. Welcome to you if you're joining us on your Android or your iPhone apps. Good morning. You know, this is a Pan-African space. It's an African-centered space. The vision of this program is to reunite the African family for development. Our mission, of course, is bearing witness and demanding change. Developing an African-centered agenda for change and development. We're blazing new paths towards Africa's rendezvous with destiny. Good morning to you. A special morning to you if you're joining us for the first time. Welcome to this space, to this place at this time. We've got an interesting program lined up for you as usual inside of the Africa Forum. At 11 minutes after 6 o'clock. We're focusing on Caribbean reparatory justice this morning. Looking at reparations for the most part. But we're also going to be throwing the spotlight this morning on Congo, on the crisis in the Congo, as we look forward to Congo Week. In addition to that, we're telling you about an African club, first of its kind in a long while, that's being formed at the University of the West Indies by students of the University of the West Indies. We understand that the plans for the Million Man March are in high gear here in Jamaica. Understand about $150 million earmarked to be made from the Million Man March anniversary coming into Jamaica. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So Mr. Clive Mohammed, or anyone from the Nation of Islam here in Jamaica, please give me a call again. Let us have a conversation about this, okay? No, there was a press conference just recently. And out of that, we understand that we have some 2,000 people coming in from the United States who will be participating in the march. In addition to that, we also understand that all the hotels in Kingston are scheduled to be fully booked during that time. That's good news for the economy. All right, so we want to talk about that. So if Mr. Clive Mohammed can give me a call, that would be good. But as I said this morning, the main focus is going to be on reparations. 2 weeks ago, we carried here in this space the address to the House of Commons in Britain by Professor Hilary Beckles. And this week, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Caribbean reparatory justice. We also want to look ahead to the CARICOM Reparations Conference, the second, which is scheduled for Antigua and Barbuda, and that's coming up in October, early October, mid-October actually. So joining me on the phone lines this morning to look at reparations, Professor Vereen Shepherd, who is chair of the Reparations Commission here in Jamaica. Also a member of the Reparations Commission, Professor Vereen Shepherd, also chair of the United Nations Working Group of Experts on People of African Descent. She's author of many texts, including I Want to Disturb My Neighbor, Lectures on Slavery, Emancipation and Post-Colonial Jamaica. And of course, she's also the head of the Institute of Gender and Development Studies here at the University of the West Indies. Also a member of the Reparations Commission is my brother Bert Samuels, Pan-African attorney at law, joining me to look at the legal aspects or issues pertaining to legal issues in the reparations debate. In the studio this morning, with me on the reparations issue, my brother Tekla Mekfet, author, educator, of course Rastafarian. Tekla Mekfet joins me in the studio. Tekla also did a review of Dr. Whittingham's book on reparations. And he joins me to assist us in the conversation, in the discussion, in learning a little bit more about reparations this morning. We're also going to be joined in the studio by my sister Nana Tendai. Tendai, of course, no stranger to the Africa Forum, an entrepreneur, Pan-African, organic farmer, environmentalist, and with her Baba Taibika, who is also a Pan-African, organic farmer, environmentalist, and entrepreneur. And we're going to be going live to the UK, where our brother Mandingo, who is one of the organizers for the Reparations March that took place in London, England, from Brixton to Westminster, August 1, 2014. You might have heard of that. Mandingo joins me on the phone lines from the UK this morning. We're going also to Antigua and Barbuda, right ahead of the reparations, the second CARICOM Reparations Conference, or the second CARICOM Conference on Reparations. That's scheduled for October 12 and 14. The chairperson for the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission is Dobrin Omadi, and he joins me on the phone lines this morning to talk about the plans for the Reparations Conference in Antigua and Barbuda. As I said before, we're also talking about the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the crisis in the Congo, where rape is still being used as a weapon of war, where thousands and thousands and thousands of women are raped on a daily basis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo as part of this war, not of their own making, but a war that's underway for the minerals and the resources of Africa, where mercenaries are planted on the continent of Africa and continue to rape not just the women, not just our sisters and our mothers, but continue to rape the land. So we're going to be talking this morning about the crisis in the Congo. One of the issues getting little or no attention: blood diamonds, blood minerals. But one of the issues getting little or no attention in the Western media and in the African diasporic media and even in the African media, the continental African media. But Congo Week is coming up, and Colton remains at the center of the problems in the Democratic Republic of the Congo as big corporations seek to mine these precious minerals for their mobile phones and their televisions and you name it. And those who pay the price are our daughters, our sisters, our mothers. Dr. Whittingham has tied Colton into the reparations debate, and she is right to do so. As soon as we have finished reading her book on reparations, we will definitely seek an interview with her. In the meantime, we remind you that we're reading Hilary Beckles' book in the Running African Book Club, Britain's Black Debt, Reparations for Caribbean Slavery and Native Genocide. We're also reading in the book club Jamaica and the Debate over Reparations for Slavery, a discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National Bicentenary Committee, Verine Shepherd, Amit Reed, Cavell Francis, and Kamika Murphy. We're going to be giving away 2 of those books this morning, by the way, Jamaica and the Debate over Reparations for Slavery. All right, so we're going to be speaking with Maurice Carney this morning, the DRC. Maurice Carney is a co-founder and executive director of Friends of the Congo. He's also fought with the Congolese for over 15 years in their struggle for human dignity and control of their country. He has worked with civic associations in West Africa, providing training on research methodologies and surveys. He has served as the interim Africa Working Group coordinator for Reverend Jesse Jackson, while he was a special envoy to Africa. And he has provided analysis on the Congo for Al Jazeera, for ABC News, Democracy Now!, Real News Network, Papamzuka News, All Africa News, and a host of other media outlets, including, of course, IRI FM. He's been here talking to us on the situation in the Congo time and time again. Breaking with Silence, Congo Week, taking place from October 19 to 25 in, across the world, actually, across the globe. We're asking persons to stop and focus for a moment on the DRC. We're also looking ahead to the Land Grab Conference. The first annual Land Grab Conference is getting on the way shortly in October in South Africa, and we are looking forward to that. We're also looking ahead, and we are just about up on it actually, to the 8th Pan-African Congress, which gets underway in Ghana in short order. All right, so this morning we're also going to be speaking with a student at the University of the West Indies, the Mona campus, and she is actually one of the founding member of Club Africa at the University of the West Indies, Lisa Sutton. She'll be joined by her co-founder, founding member of Club Africa at UWI, Charles Frost, and they're launching the new Africa Club on the 25th, I think, of September. So we've got lots and lots to get through this morning inside of the Africa Forum. Once again, welcome to this space, at this place, In this time, we want to ensure that we invoke the spirits of the ancestors. So at this time, we invoke the spirit of Chief Taki, Chief Taichi of St. Mary, who in the march for emancipation, or in the fight for emancipation, burnt plantations from St. Mary to Westmoreland, and then some. St. Mary, where I am from, so you know how that is. So I invoke and welcome to this space at this time, Ancestor Chief Tachi, Ancestor come. We invoke and welcome to this space at this time, in this place, at this moment, our Ancestor Ya Asantwa. We invoke and welcome to this space, at this time, in this place, our Ancestor Hatshepsut. We acknowledge those upon whose shoulders we stand. We invoke and welcome to this space, at this time, in this place, our Ancestor Imhotep. We invoke and welcome to this space, at this time, our Ancestor Queen Nani of the Maroons. Ancestors come. Ancestors come. Invoking the spirit of our ancestor Baba Paul Bogo to this place at this time. Invoking and welcome to this space at this time. In this place right now, the spirit of our ancestor Baba Sam Sharp. Ancestor come. You're inside of the Africa Forum. We welcome you to this space at this time. It is an African space. It's a Pan-African space. This is an African-centered space. Welcome. 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 We go through until 10 o'clock. That's when the Big A comes in with the Sunday Sunshine. In a little while, we'll speak with Brother Clive Muhammad. In the meantime, though, this.
Jeffrey Africa, running African ye. Ahaya Jamaica. So what's it kaka say bosso kadia? Ewo Ire FM.
But there is a problem in Jamaica. There's an issue that belongs to all of us. Whether you're a visitor, whether you're Jamaican, whether you're African, Pan-African, European, doesn't matter. It belongs to all of us. This is the issue of access to our beaches. The song you're listening to, Brian and Tony Gold, was written during the apartheid era for South Africa, in empathy and sympathy with South Africans. Become now the anthem here in Jamaica, because it is now Jamaica's reality. The question is, can you swim on any beach you want to? At the time this song was done by Brian and Tony Gold, for us it was a song that really hurt to the core, because we could not identify, couldn't identify with a country that denied access to the beaches to its people. But that is our situation. That is now Jamaica's reality. We begin to change that reality. We're all responsible. So when you, as a visitor, visits the beach, when you go to the beach, remember this, that you have access to a piece of Jamaica that the ordinary Jamaican doesn't. And you probably need to ask them. Ask them when you see them. And for those who stay at the all-inclusive hotels, you more than ever, you more than all, have a responsibility. Tell them. And for the drivers who drive them, once you know, your obligation is to do something. And then for us here in Jamaica, we've got this issue that bothers us. We've got this problem that we've been trying to figure out for the very longest time. We know we can't swim on any beach we want to. It's getting worse, by the way. It's getting worse. And we heard just recently in Parliament, Mr. Ian Hales, we had him here in this space talking about the plans to change this reality. And we're watching that. And we really do welcome the suggestions that have been made in Parliament in terms of how we make beaches accessible to the ordinary Jamaican. But the announcement was made. We're not what we say we are. We're what we do. And I think we need to get Mr. Ian Hills back here to probably look at where this is going, what has happened since the announcement in Parliament months ago. You know, one of the things that we've said time and time in this space is that beaches are not, and this is not privileges, you know, these are not privileges. These are democratic commons where ordinary Jamaicans go to just to relax, just to exercise your right to be human being. This is not about the rich and the poor either. This is also about the land and probably should be part of the reparations debate. Of course it is, we know, because in the 10-point plan, access to land for the African diaspora and especially for the Caribbean, one of the 10 points. We're going to go through that later on. And access to land, of course, must mean access to the beach. It must also mean that. Land ownership and collective land ownership. Collective land ownership, of course, meaning ownership collectively of the beach. The people owning the coastline of Jamaica. It's a wicked and cruel act that our leaders are presiding over here in Jamaica. And the serious thing about all of this is that this act is not done just by one party, JLP or PNP. But this is one of the issues that the two tribalistic parties agree on. They agree that the beaches and the coastlines of Jamaica must be sold off. And they agree that the ordinary Jamaican must be denied access to the beaches. We're looking into other beaches, by the way. We're looking into other beaches. For example, we've heard about, and we're not calling any names of those beaches right now because we're doing those investigations. But there's a prominent one here in St. Anne, for example, not far from Duns River, and you probably know a lot about it, that we are told, and we have written to the proper authorities using the Access to Information Act for information regarding the ownership of, let me just go ahead and say this, the ownership of Laughing Waters, because we understand that Laughing Waters belong to the people of Jamaica. Is that so? We're investigating that. At one time, we heard it belonged to a prime minister. Another time, it belonged to a party. Another time, it belonged to a conglomerate. One thing we do know, security guards do guard that piece of Jamaica's coastline. We're saying one of the things that we're calling on the Jamaican government to do, and to do quickly, is to address this inequity, is to address the extent to which Jamaicans are excluded on so many different levels, but on this particular level, the level of the access to the beach. So we're calling on the government of Jamaica. We're calling on each side in Gordon House, to pay some attention to this. It seems like nothing, but if you can spend $57 million on a piecemeal jumping and whining and celebrating so-called independence, you can stop for a moment. You can stop for a moment and look at the extent to which Jamaicans are excluded from our social spaces, from spaces like the beach. This is an issue that has to be dealt with immediately. From Negril Point to St. Thomas, from one end of the island to the next. From one end of the island to the next, there's a problem with access to the beaches. The problem mainly is that a lot of these beaches are being sold to private interests. And the interesting part of that is not so much that they are being sold to private interests, because in other countries, in Barbados, for example, private interests own lands, own property on the coastlines, and in Cuba, it's becoming more and more so now. By the way, it wasn't so before. But what we're finding now is that in Barbados, where you have access, where there is a path that leads to the beach for the ordinary Barbadian, and in many other countries across the world, you have that path to the beach. In Jamaica, that path is fenced off, is walled off, is barbed wire off, and there are security guards ensuring that the Jamaican, the ordinary African Jamaican, is kept out. And entrance to the beach has to be through the private gates of the hotels, which are exclusive, or of the private villas. So this is the situation that we're dealing with. This has to change. A change gonna come, and we have to be part of that change. Part of this is to keep the conversation going. Keep the conversation going. Another part is our activism, our advocacy, ensuring that the issue of lack of access to beaches in Jamaica remain in the public sphere. Gonna be going to the phone lines to speak with our brother Clive Mohammed. He's a representative of Minister Farrakhan in Jamaica. He's also leader of the Nation of Islam in Jamaica. And this is in relation to the 19th anniversary of the Million Man March on Sunday, October 19th. The guest speaker then will be the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, bringing, as usual, a message of atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility to Jamaica. Let me know where you are. Let me know which beach you do not have access to. We're tackling these beaches one by one. It's about time we get our sledgehammers and we knock down some of those walls. Figuratively and physically. It's about time that we get our pliers and our scissors and our cutters and our knives and we remove some of those fences. Remove some of those barriers. Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller, knock down these walls. They are trustees. They are trustees. They are custodians for our beaches. They should not be selling them that way. Not only that, we have to bring the UDC to boot. The Urban Development Corporation, which has now redefined itself as the chief seller of Jamaica's heritage, must be called on what's happening with our beaches in Jamaica. And we must do this fearlessly, understanding that courage is not the absence of fear, but understanding that there's something greater than fear. So we're going to go to the phone lines to speak with Brother Clive Muhammad. Brother Clive, are you there? No.
Well, good morning to you, Sister Angela Williams, and to your listening audience, and peace be unto you. The plans basically are to get our message across. Minister Farrakhan's message of unity, of reconciliation, of atonement to our Jamaican people and to the people of the Caribbean. Because the message is not just meant for Jamaica, but it is meant for the entire Caribbean. It's meant for the black family, for us to get a message that will give us a spirit of self-analysis, make us able to see ourselves, to see the condition that we are basically in. And when we met with Minister Farrakhan in Barbados, Minister Farrakhan said to us that the oxygen of finance and the spirit of finance and of being economically self-sufficient is being pulled out from the Caribbean people. We are people that have become dependent solely on others to do for us what we must now take up the baton and do for ourselves.
And so that is the underlying theme when when the anniversary of the Million Man March, when the activities get underway here in Jamaica.
Yes,
all right, I understand from the press conference that there's going to be an actual march. I thought there was going to be an event at the National Arena when we spoke last, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is there an actual march that ends at the National Arena?
Andrea, there will not be a march per se where you walk the streets. No, we won't. It will be an event that will be held at the National Arena on that Sunday.
All right, but you do know the newspapers are reporting a march.
Well, we'll have to correct that.
Yes.
We'll have to use the airways and correct that. But there won't be a march, a walking in the streets. It will be just as it was in 1995 in Washington, D.C.
Right, and I was there in 1995 covering that event. Wow, that was a massive event. That was a massive event in Washington, D.C. in 95. I remember that. All right, so basically what's gonna be happening now in terms of the what's happening at the National Arena? Give me an idea of how that is going to play out. Minister Farrakhan is going to address the country, I know, but what else is going to be happening at the arena?
For the arena, basically, that main event, it will be a gathering of different minds, from the spiritual community, the religious bodies, Rastafarian. We expect everybody to be a part, to share in the event. We don't want it to come over as a Muslim event, because Minister Farrakhan said to us that it's not a Muslim event. It's an event that should show unity, that should show the oneness of minds coming together for a common cause. And the common cause, Sister Andrea, is to free the minds of our people.
My brother Clive Mohammed, I must stop you now because you have said Andrea quite a few times. My name has been changed by deed poll. I've reclaimed myself. So it's Carbo.
Okay, my dear sister.
It's Carbo. Yes.
It's what is it?
Carbo. K-A-B-U.
K-A-U.
Yeah, Carbo.
My apologies, my dear sister.
Accepted. Accepted, my brother. Accepted. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that we read in the papers yesterday, and I think this was also announced at the press conference, that the event will be seeing some 2,000 people or so coming in from the United States. Am I right on this? Or?
Yes, we have members of the Nation of Islam who will be accompanying Minister Farrakhan into Jamaica. To be a part of this event.
That's a very big contingent. It is true.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And who are these 2,000 or descending on Jamaica in October?
Well, for some, it's members of the Nation of Islam who have always been with Minister Farrakhan wherever he goes for these major events. For some, brothers and sisters who were present in 1995 at the Million Man March. And this is the first time since Minister Farrakhan has actually taken the the Million Man March outside of the United States of America. So those who were part of that movement in 1995 will want to be here with Minister Farrakhan for this 19th anniversary celebration.
Okay.
So and many from other cultural communities as well who will want to be here when Minister Farrakhan delivers his message.
And while there are many ways to look at this, I know that a lot of Jamaicans, and especially the reports that I see coming out of the press conference, are focused on the earnings that are likely to come to Jamaica, including, of course, figures ranging from $150 million and upwards as to what the country will earn from this. Is this something that the Nation of Islam is also stressing, that there's earning power, earning capacity from the event as it unfolds, October 19th?
Yes, Sister Andrea, there will be earnings coming to Jamaica from the event. I mean, when you have the amount of visitors that you're looking at coming into the island, most certainly there will be monies to be earned from it.
Yes.
And Minister Farrakhan is willing, to have the members come in and share and spend money in Jamaica to help boost Jamaica's economy in any way that it can. But that's not our main interest.
Yes, I understand that, but also it's good to know that, this is happening. In terms of the hotel, one of the things that I saw also is that, the hotels in Kingston are expected to be fully booked out with persons coming from overseas, from the United States and other countries.
Most are already.
Wow.
Most are booked out already.
So it means that persons like myself who haven't yet booked a room, we're probably locked out now.
You'll probably have to get one of those guest houses.
We have to use the new Chinese constructed highway. Right.
Yes.
Right. I understand the Chinese are quarreling that they didn't get enough land. Am I right or am I wrong? All right, that's a whole different story. Okay, so once again, just the persons who are thinking of coming or thinking of being at the National Arena, they need to go straight to the National Arena on October 19.
Yes, Sister Andrea. 19th of October. It's the gate opens at 12 noon and the event actually begins at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And we expect Jamaica to come out, Sister Andrea.
Yes.
And you were there in Washington in 1995. Jamaica was there. The flag of Jamaica was flown high in the center of the march, those of us who were just at home looking on television. So we expect Jamaica now, as this is the center of where it is. And Minister Farrakhan said this, and I just want to get this across. He said that if you get Trinidad, it's good for Trinidad. If you get Barbados, it's good for Barbados. But if you get Jamaica up, you get the whole Caribbean up, because Jamaica is the pearl of the Caribbean. So we want Jamaica to know what our position in the world is. The world minister, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, he said that what it takes the man in the United States 6 years to do, it will take the man in the Caribbean 6 months to do it. Now we know that we are up against all odds, because the enemy sees and he hears everything as well. So he's fighting to keep us down. And he's using our culture and our music and our arts, and he's using everything in his powers to keep us down. It is time for us to realize that we are at war, Sister Andrea, with an open enemy. We should awaken our consciousness and get up and stand up, as Bob Marley said, and let the world see us for who and what we are. Not just for sports and entertainment alone, but for revolutionary people to lead the world into a change.
And then I just make a quick correction to something I said, because you said Washington in 95 and I said I was there in 95, but I was in Washington for the anniversary celebration, not for the march itself. So the big anniversary celebration that took place in Washington, where we reported live back to Jamaica, as a matter of fact, that also was a massive crowd in Washington, D.C.
What year was that?
When was the march itself?
1995, and there was another march in 2000.
That's
the Million Family March.
That's the one. So I was at that one in Washington, D.C., and we reported live back to Jamaica here. Listen, that was an experience, and what it shows is the emphasis that was placed on the family and the families that came out to that march. The day was one of the most fulfilling days that I've ever spent with the African family, the African diasporic family in my entire life. So that that was really beautiful. So can I imagine translating that here to Jamaica, the National Arena, on the 19th of October? What day is that exactly, the 19th of October?
It's a Sunday. It's a Sunday.
What time does it start?
It's the gate opens at 2 at 12, and the event actually begins at 2. And we want the whole Jamaica to come out, Sister Andrea. It's a family affair.
Looks like I might be broadcasting live right after we come back from the Reparations conference in
yes, ma'am.
in Antigua and Barbuda. Yes.
It's not an event. It's not a Muslim event, because there was a question asked at the press conference as well.
Yes.
About our association with ISIS. See? Minister Farrakhan is not coming to deal with religion, and those who watched the march in 1995 and who were present at the march in 1995, Minister Farrakhan never told anyone to join the Nation of Islam. He said, go back and join an organization in your community. See, go join a movement.
My brother, we have to do more than that. We have to change the narrative on ISIS. We have to ask a question, who is ISIS? And we must do that, not just asking, but this is one time when we must provide the answer. We must talk about Turkey. We must talk about the points made by Assad during the shelling of Syria, when he appealed to the world, when he said, listen, Europeans are coming in through Turkey, and they are arming themselves against the government of Syria. And he made that call. The US told us, Britain told us, that they were actually aligning themselves with these people who are coming through Turkey and through other doorways of Europe, and that they were arming these people. My brother, that is ISIS. And there's no such thing as ISIS anyway. It's IS. I mean, they don't even call themselves ISIS. Now,
yes.
I think it is up to us. We must not buy into the idea and into the narrative that has been spinned by CNN and to a lesser extent by the BBC. We must do our own investigations, our own research, and change the narrative on ISIS. It's not an Islamic group. It's not a Muslim group either.
Correct.
It's Europeans.
My dear sister.
It's Europeans who have come into the Middle East for the wealth of the Middle East. So let's change the narrative on that one, please. In the meantime, the event is happening on October 19 at the National Arena, and Minister Farrakhan will be delivering the main address. Am I right on that?
And it's free.
And it's free.
The gates are open to all.
Thank you very much, my brother. Talk to you again. Thank you very much. We talk to you again.
Thank you, sister. And let's keep the dialogue going.
Of course. But it's also hard to understand. Just go back 5 months, 6 months. Go and research every single story that was carried by the global media conglomerates like the BBC, Reuters, CNN, and so on. And your search, what you're searching for, if you're Googling this, should be something along the lines, Assad says Europeans are being armed. Assad, Europeans armed, just put a plus sign in between. And then read those stories, because ISIS or IS was highly reported on by all media houses, including here in Jamaica. Highly, seriously reported on when ISIS was being armed by the US and the UK as part of the war on terror. And, you know, we talk about this war and terror all the time without understanding what it is that we're even mimicking when we repeat what they say. An ideology, you can't bomb an ideology, and part of this is ISIS comes out of the ideology that the US and the UK thought they could bomb to smithereens in Syria. You cannot bomb an ideology into oblivion. It doesn't work that way. To change an ideology, you have to look at education, you have to look at culture, and you have to think generations down the line. So the more you bomb an ideology, the stronger the ideology becomes. And this is what has happened with ISIS. And let me not even join that, because I'm talking about changing the narrative. There's no such thing as ISIS. ISIS, the term and the word ISIS, Granted, it's Greek also when you go all the way back, and we have to decide now whether we say, hetero and whether we use the Kemetic words as opposed to using the Greek words when we are reclaiming our language, because here we have ISIS now under attack. The name ISIS. All right, but that's an aside. So that ISIS by itself is it's an Islamic State. They have changed the name. That would have made them the Islamic State in Syria, which would have been the acronym for, ISIS would be the acronym for that. So they have changed that, and it's really the Islamic State. And it's the Islamic State wherever they are. But these are not Arabs. This is what you need to get to understand. A lot of the leadership of IS, these are not Arabs. If you notice and listen to the tapes of the beheadings, you realize these are some straight British accents. These are Europeans who came by way of Turkey, because Turkey was so eager to get rid of Assad that it opened its door wide to everybody who was coming in to fight against Assad. It happened also with Iraq. Remember, Saddam Hussein was saying the same thing. He said Europeans are coming in and they are being armed by the allied forces. So we must begin to change the narrative, and we must do our own homework, and we must report on events through our own lenses. The minute we start parroting the CNN and the BBC, we are in trouble. Our condolences to the families who are losing their loved ones on a monthly or weekly basis to terror. And that's exactly what it is. It's terror of a different nature. Jackson, when he was a special envoy to Africa, he has also provided analysis on the Congo for many, many media houses, including Al Jazeera, ABC News, Democracy Now!, Pamamzuka News, and of course IRFM. And he joins us once again on the phone lines to talk about Breaking the Silence, Congo Week. Good morning, Maurice. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Here we are again, Maurice, focusing on the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and talking about Congo Week. And we're still saying breaking the silence. Why are we still saying breaking the silence?
Yes, we're saying breaking the silence for two main reasons. One, there's been a tremendous loss of life in the Congo, and still, the global community, people throughout the world, are not aware of this tragedy that has unfolded in the heart of Africa. So that's one reason. A second reason that we're breaking the silence is that Congo is Africa and the world's best kept secret. It's an enormously wealthy country with tremendous amount of human and natural potential that, if fully realized, can transform the entire African continent and really put the African world, African people, front and center throughout the world. So that's why we're still breaking the silence. Just for you listening audience, just give them a sketch. The Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, is a country the size of Western Europe that's located in the heart of Africa. It's a country that's bordered by 9 other African countries. No country on the African continent has that many countries bordering it. It straddles the equator and serves as the fulcrum in which the African continent swings, with an estimated population of 70 million people. So it's vital to the future of the African continent. If you liken the continent to the human body, the Congo would be the heart. So it's that engine that really drives the African continent. But people hardly know about it, even where it's located, its significance to Africa as a whole, and its remarkable history. It really was at the center, the Congo was at the center of the carving up of the African continent at the 1884-1885 Berlin Conference. It was also called the Congo Conference. And it was there that the country was given to King Leopold II of Belgium as its own personal property.
As a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, Maurice, I walked this morning with the book King Leopold's Ghost, a story of greed, terror, and heroism in colonial Africa by Adam Hushchild. I don't know how many persons have read this, but this is one of, and we've always done the research in Africa, but it wasn't until I read this particular book that I understood the history of Belgium in the Congo, and I see you're actually taking us back to that, to the point of a time at which the Africa was carved up, and Belgium was responsible under King Leopold for the Congo, the atrocities that happened in the Congo then, and even then there was a silence, a great silence around what was happening in the Congo. Why do you yes, go ahead, Maurice.
No, go ahead. Go with the question.
The question I'm asking is, why do you think that the global community, that Western media, that African diasporic media pays such little attention to one of the most brutal ongoing atrocities happening on the continent of Africa? Why is there so little coverage, so little outrage? Why?
There's several reasons for this. There is a central issue that afflicts the media, the corporate media, and to some extent, by extension, other media. And that is, when it comes to black lives, when it comes to African lives, they are less valued. Black lives are less valued. So when horrible things happen to black people en masse, it's usually considered as normal. Like, that's what happens in Africa. So we don't, those lives are not as valuable, so it doesn't garner as much attention or require as much focus. Because people are not really concerned about what's happening to black folks on the African continent. Mm-hmm. So that's a major reason for the lack of coverage in terms of what the suffering that is taking place. And in a lot of respects, some folks blame Africans, saying that, hey, you're killing each other and there's disease there and all that. It's very rarely looked at. The situation is very rarely looked at in a geopolitical context. That is to say, the foreign governments that are fueling conflict on the African continent, the multinational corporations that are raping the continent, the outside forces that are standing up small groups of individuals and arming them and financing them to the point where they can terrorize entire populations. Mm-hmm. So that the political construct is often removed from the equation. So that's a major reason why we don't see the focus that is required, mm-hmm. Or that one would think mm-hmm. would be commensurate with the scale and the scope of the tragedy that's taking place on the African continent, in this case, the Congo itself.
Mm-hmm. So let us go quickly to Congo Week, and I'm sure I'll talk to you later on before we get to October. Congo Week runs from when? October 12th, is it?
Yes, the Congo Week runs from October this year, from October 19th to the 25th. Oh. And Congo Week is a global event that takes place throughout the globe. Where people from Japan, Australia, Sweden, South Africa, Brazil, Jamaica, all over, they do something to commemorate the millions of lives that have been lost in the Congo and to elevate the profile of the country. They may show films. They may write songs. I think last year we were on, people who are listening to your program from Jamaica wrote songs to commemorate Congolese lives and say Congo matters and we value those lives. People host forums, do fundraisers. We have musical artists such as Dean Gray and Talib Kweli and Sarah Monch and David Banner. They're all doing concerts in support of the Congo here in the U.S. So it's a way for people to say throughout the globe that Black lives matter. Mm-hmm. Black African lives matter in the heart of Africa. So from October 19th through the 25th, we encourage people in your listening audience, students there at the University of West Indies, elsewhere throughout the country to join us and go to CongoWeek.org to find out more and become a part of this global movement for peace, this global movement for justice, this global movement for human dignity in the heart of Africa.
What else are you asking people to do? People listening on the internet at irfm.net, Jamaicans, here persons in the region. What is it that you're asking persons to do for Congo Week this year?
Okay, several things. One, first of all, we'd like for them to spread the word on social media. They can use the hashtag Congo Week 2014. That's Congo Week 2014 to spread the word about what's happening in the Congo. There's so many things that people don't know about the Congo that they can share, like Congo's first independence hero, Patrice Lumumba, who was overthrown and subsequently assassinated with the role of the CIA, the Belgians, and the United Nations. He's a giant on the African continent that people ought to know about. Malcolm X said he was the greatest African that ever walked the continent. He comes in line with Malcolm X himself, Dr. King, Che Guevara, Patrice Lumumba, the African hero that everybody, the school children should know about, everybody should know about. So one of the things that we're asking people to do is to educate themselves about the Congo. And Patrice Lumumba is a good point of departure. Okay. So they can use the hashtag Congo Week 2014, talk about Lumumba. Secondly, we'd like for people to join the movement, to do something during Congo Week. For example, you are a radio host, so you're going to host us during Congo Week and provide a platform for us to speak to the Jamaican audience about why Congo matters and why Congo is important for people in Jamaica. If you're a university professor, a university student, host a forum on your campus, teach a class, even at the high school level and the elementary school level. Whatever it is that you do, if you're a musician, we'd like for you to write a song and possibly even organize a concert. If you're a peace group, a women's group, whatever formation that you have, you can do something in support of the Congo. And we provide materials for people on our website at CongoWeek.org. They can get films, they can get fact sheets, they can get flyers, banners, posters, whatever is needed to organize an event and commemorate the millions of lives that have been lost in the Congo and elevate the profile of the Congo. We provide that on the website at CongoWeek.org.
All right, just for a quick background of the last 8 minutes that we have, what is the situation now in the Congo with the ongoing rape of our women, of our sisters, of our daughters, with the war with the Russian colton? Can you give us an idea and update as what's happening on the ground there in Congo right now?
Sure. It's important for listening audience to understand, like, what is at stake in the Congo is who's going to control those enormous wealth that is there. We're talking about gold and diamonds and copper and tin and you name it. Economists estimate that there's about $24 trillion worth of natural wealth in the Congo. To give you a sense of what that's like the gross national product of both the United States and the European Union combined. So there's like a lot of money at stake. Congo has the agricultural capacity to feed the entire world. It has the hydro capacity to provide electricity for the entire African continent, have some left over to export to Southern Europe and the Middle East. So there's a lot at stake. And this is the ongoing drama that's unfolding in the Congo. Who's going to control those resources and for whose benefit? So right now, what is happening is there is a president that's in place who wants to stay in power. He has the backing of the multinational corporations that have been pillaging the country, and the people are organizing to assure that in the next couple of years that there's a peaceful democratic transition in the country. This is a central concern to the people of the Congo right now. As it relates to the women and the children, things have improved slightly over the last few years because the United States, who was backing neighboring countries that were destabilizing the Congo, the United States government got a lot of pressure. And as a result of that pressure, they withheld military aid from the neighboring countries of the Congo that were destabilizing the country, that had invaded the country, that were supporting militia groups in the country, that were raping the women, recruiting child soldiers. So as a result of global pressure, as a result of greater attention being focused on the Congo, we see that the United States had made some steps to help ameliorate the situation by withholding its military aid from those who are destabilizing the country. So those are the major issues that are unfolding in the country right now.
Mm-hmm. Maurice, we want to schedule an interview with you regarding all those issues that you raised as we go into Congo Week, October 19 to 25. We're talking about reparations here today on this program in just a few minutes, actually, and reading also the book by Dr. Whittingham, in which she refers and references the situation that's ongoing in the Congo and this rush on coltan and how that all of that unfolding in the Congo relates right back to the reparations, any conversation on reparation itself. And you're doing, I just heard a very similar thing in saying, listen, this is the heart of Africa, and it goes back to the carving up of the continent of Africa, the role Congo played in all of it. So I think these are some of the issues that we need to interrogate when we talk again very soon, heading into Congo Week. How do we now connect back, as we, Sankofa literally, to the continent of Africa to understand reparations and the call for reparations in the West?
Absolutely. And you cannot talk about Africa without talking about Congo. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki said, in talking about a new Africa, he said, there is no new Africa without a new Congo. Talking about Africa without talking about Congo is like talking about your body without talking about your heart. Congo is central to the future of the African continent. And when it comes to reparations, just in 2010, the United Nations said that Congolese people are entitled to reparations because of the pillaging of multinational corporations. And when we talk about reparations, we're going back to the period of enslavement. Here in the United States, 2 out of every 6 Africans that were brought here as enslaved, captured, came from the Congo region. So Congo has played a central role in populating the Western Hemisphere, whether we're talking about from Brazil to Colombia to Jamaica all the way up. So we're talking about a region that's been central in the drama of people of African ancestry dating back to the period of enslavement right up to today. So this Congo certainly would be central in any discussion around reparations.
On reparations. And, interestingly, as you said that, I'd mentioned Adam Hochschild before in his book, King Leopold's Ghost, which is, and I've interviewed him many, many times in this space, but I know that he stops short, even after researching and writing about the atrocities and writing about it so emotionally too, that he stops short of calling for reparations for the Congo. And I find that very, very interesting. Well, as a European writer, I don't know, how much more we could expect, but that if he stops short, then when we talk...
Huh? I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Maurice, because you were making a point.
No. I mean, you cannot talk about Africa, Congo, without the question of reparations. It's not only a matter of principle, but it's also a moral appeal. And I believe that once we are sufficiently organized, it will move from a matter of principle and moral appeal to a reality. It's really in our hands to organize in a way that we can demand leveraging the power. Because imagine, right, with the enormous wealth that Congo has, imagine if Congo was the face of the United States. Until reparations are given to our people, you're not going to be able to get the cobalt to run your aerospace and military industries. Or you're not going to get the coltan that's vital to the functioning of your cell phones and your video games and your airplanes and all of those electronics and technology devices that require the resources of the Congo and Africa. So no, reparations must be front and center because there has to be a repair for the damage that was done to us from the period of enslavement right to the present.
And how we factor in the ongoing damage, because what we see happening across the continent of Africa is another story all by itself. But thank you so much, Maurice Carney. We'll talk with you shortly, I'm sure, leading into Congo Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And remember, listening audience, to visit CongoWeek.org to become a part of this global movement that's as important today as the Free South African movement was yesterday.
All right, so CongoWeek.org is a website, and you can follow Congo Crisis at Congo in Crisis, and I know on Twitter. Yeah, sorry.
CongoJustice.org to see the short film for Crisis in the Congo.
Crisis in the Congo. Thank you very much. All right.
Right. But if they hit us up at use the hashtag Congo Week 2014, they'll be able to follow us on Twitter as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Maurice.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're inside of the Africa Forum, Running African. And we just had a conversation there with Maurice Carney. And what's interesting about the conversation we had is that we're going to be talking about reparations in a little while. But we talk about reparations for slavery, pointing back to the pillaging and the rape of the continent of Africa. It's ongoing on the continent of Africa. So how do we factor in the ongoing rape of Africa, the ongoing murder and destruction and theft? How do we factor that in? Is this another issue all by itself? And then do we then in the Adinkra there is a symbol that shows a dog chasing its tail. How do we get it right to ensure that we're not represented by that symbol of a dog chasing its tail, but rather by the symbol of Ma'at, which is justice and balance, or the symbol of a Sankofa, which is looking forward, but also going forward, but also looking back. How do we ensure that we do not make these serious mistakes? And no, it's one step at a time, but we have to look at what's happening also on the continent of Africa today. The atrocities are enormous. In the Congo, it is so bad. Women are violently raped with implements, trees, swords, machetes. I mean, this is, and I'm talking about rape. This is how bad it is. And all because there are multinational corporations and governments who want the minerals of the DRC. We need to put that front and center in our conversations about Africa, in our conversations about Pan-Africanism. And so when the 8th Pan-African Congress, for example, meets in Ghana, when we go to the land grab conference in South Africa, which is coming up in just a few days' time, when we go to Antigua and Barbuda for the Reparations conference, even if it's an aside, we must bring these issues to the fore. What's happening in Haiti? What's happening in the Congo? What's happening in Rwanda still? We must bring these issues to the fore to ensure that we do not make mistakes that are going to be too costly to for us to even begin to address. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we send sister Tekla Mekpet, educator, broadcaster, and author. His areas of research and writing include politics of color and language, cricket and cultural symbolisms in sports, African philosophy in music and sports as instrument of education. Tekla's new book, its coming book, which is coming out shortly, will be of his University of the West Indies Bob Marley Lecture 2010, titled Could You Be Loved? Rastafari, Reggae, Bob Marley, Africa Scattered for Rhythm of Spirit of Oneness for the World. Also in the studio, as I said before, very good friends, brothers and sisters in the studio this morning. Babatai Beki, Nana Tendai, they are farmers, organic farmers, Pan-Africanists, environmentalists, and entrepreneurs. On the phone lines, in a little while, we'll be hearing from Professor Vereen Shepherd, and she is the chair of the Reparations Commission. She's also chair of the UN's Working Group of Experts on People of African Descent. She's author of I Want to Disturb My Neighbor, Lectures on Slavery, Emancipation and Post-Colonial Jamaica, also head of the Institute of Gender and Development Studies at the University of the West Indies. And on the phone lines in a little while, also Bert Samuels, Pan-African attorney at law, member of the National Commission on Reparations, brother and friend also. And you know, we're having this conversation with persons who we talk to on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, pretty often telepathically, or on the phone lines, or on Facebook, or just having ongoing conversations over time about these very same issues that we're bringing to the fore this morning. On the phone lines from the UK, Mandingo will join us later on in the discussion. He was one of the organizers of the Reparations March in the UK from Brixton to Westminster, and that happened August 1. And then the second CARICOM Conference on Reparations takes place in Antigua and Barbuda from October 12 to October 14. Dobrin Omadi is the chairperson of the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission, and he'll be joining me later on this morning also in the program. So let me welcome first of all to the studio very, very special guest, Tekla, Taibika, and Tendai. Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings,
Alapia, my sister.
All right, thanks so much for coming in, and thank you so much, Tekla, for sending me Dr. Whittingham's book.
Whitman.
Sorry, and I've been saying Whittingham all morning. Dr. Whitman's book on reparations. Didn't carry it with me this morning because we haven't begun to read it in any depth, but we're also placing it on the book list for the books that we're reading in the Running African Book Club. But I'm starting there, Tekla, because you also reviewed the book, and your review is actually in the beginning of the book itself. Not very often that we meet like this to talk about an issue which we talk about every day outside of the studio. But what do you think are the major challenges, Tekla, to reparations?
Well, greetings. First of all, I think we have to, as Rastafari, I have to say that there is a clear link between repatriation and reparation. And as Rastafari, knowing that Rastafari is of the fulfillment of prophecy of the Bible, and I want to place this whole discussion of reparation in the context of the Bible, in the context of the imagery of telling of the world, the story of the world, using parables, using figures of speech, and the Bible is such a book. So let me just place everything in context, this link between repatriation and reparation, if you will allow me. I'd refer you to Exodus 6:13, and where it says, and Moses spoke before the Lord Jah, saying, the children of Israel, meaning Jacob's children, have not heeded me. How then shall Pharaoh heed me? Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and gave them a command for the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, those who are like scattered ones, like African peoples. And there was a command for Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And what was this command? To bring the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, out of the land of Egypt. Now, Israel and Egypt are words that have symbolic meaning perpetually throughout earth. Israel means ruling with God, ruling with your Creator, at one with your Creator. You are what you come of. And Egypt is like the antithesis, like Babylon, as the academics say, the antithesis. It is the opposite. It is the antithesis, Egypt. So what is Moses saying from the commandment is to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Make the slave know that he has a father. And the father is of the beginning. Like Africa is the mother of all humankind. And he must come to rule with Jah, which means being in rhythm with nature, which means avoiding ecological problems. And that's the practical application. And then we see the further fulfillment of prophecy out of Genesis 15:13 to 14. We have Abram, who would later become Abraham. Abram means father of heights. Abraham means father of nations. I, Rastafari, coming of that, know that the mission of African peoples, the mother of all humankind, is a message for the world. So in this context, understand Genesis. Then he said, Abram, how know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. We have been servants in a land that is not ours, although Africa is the world, but others claim pieces. Right? And here it goes on. And also the nation whom they serve I will judge afterwards. They shall come out with great possessions. Reparations. This is the fulfillment of prophecy. Now the Exodus 12:35 to 36 says, now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold and clothing. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they requested. Reparations. Let me just sum up this general point. But this happened only after Egypt placed their enchanters against Jah. And the victory came in the plagues, like the plagues of earth, where man is playing around with the rhythm of creation. That in fact that earth, all the cosmos is one organism. And this is a message being carried by Rastafari. And it's vital. And let me make this link with this book now. This woman, this sister, I have to say, having read the book, she understands that this slave trade is what the Europeans, Western Europeans used to establish their power in the world. They exploited and continue to exploit Africa, and they have created the problems of not being in rhythm with the logic in nature, all the ecological problems, and all the little problems which arise, the tsunamis, the increased cold in the winter, the longer winters. All of these are like the plagues of them trying to see that they can fight against Jah creation.
So Tekla, you have situated the reparations debate within a biblical perspective, but you have said that Egypt is symbolism, Israel is symbolism. I think for Pan-Africanism, I'm going to go there with the question after I've heard from Tendai and Taibeki, because I think we want to talk a little bit more about this reference to Egypt as Babylon, or as a negative that you come out of.
Will do.
We have reclaimed Egypt as our ancestral home. All right, so let me just go to Nana Tendai. My sister, how do you see reparations? I hear Tekla said reparations cannot be separated from repatriation. Reparations and repatriation and reparation in the very same context. You must have the two. All right, Tendai, how do you see reparations?
Blessings and good morning again to everyone. I see reparations as a way that we can come together, and it's something that's old to us. The problem I have with saying we're supposed to get certain things is that, first of all, we have to get our minds back. Our minds have been taken away from us. And so, if in fact today we were given some kind of reparations today, or even if we were taken back home, gone back home, what are we bringing back home? And what would we do with something that we've gotten?
Good point.
Will we just give it back? Or if we go back home, what are we taking back home? Are we taking the same slave information back? So are we going to tear up? So we need to free our minds first and get back the mental of who we are. We have our children going to school, being talked about because they have, say, kinky hair, or they eat a certain kind of food. So the school system, the whole system is fighting against our children. So we now have to, we as Pan-Africanists, have to come together to make sure that they feel comfortable in their own skin.
All right, and as Tekla said, very good point. It's a point that we have not heard raised very often in the reparations debate in terms of the freeing of the mind and the idea of repatriation. And if you go and when you repatriate, what do you take back, and how that connects back to liberating the African mind. Taibika, my brother, reparations for you. How do you envision reparations?
Yes, Jumbo. My take is...
All right, for some weird reason, Taibika, we are not hearing you on that microphone, okay. So I think this is the one on this end that's working, but go ahead.
Yes, my take on this is similar to my wife's, but let me take it a little different. The American comedian Dave Chappelle, he did one of his skits on the same subject, reparations. And as it goes, he's a news broadcaster talking about what happened when black people got their money. He said that the stock of Kentucky Fried Chicken went up 10%. The stock in Cadillac and Mercedes went up 10%. So his perception is, and the reality is, that if we got a lump sum of money as individuals, we would give it right back to the system that is perpetuating our enslavement. And the other part is what my wife was saying, that we need to regain our consciousness, our African consciousness, our minds. We have lost that in the Western world. We change the complexion of our skin to make it lighter. We change our lips. We buy into a system where when the latest iPhone or the Galaxy comes out, we have to have that, and neglect the education of our children, the development of businesses on our own behalf. We need to become more entrepreneurial and take care of our own communities ourselves and stop depending upon other people to do that.
All right. We want to go to the phone lines where Professor Vereen Shepherd, thank you so much, Taibika, and Bert Samuels are standing by. The CARICOM Reparations Commission has outlined 10 demands of the former European trading nations to pay reparations to them. And I think within the 10-point action plan, some of what we hear from our special guests in the studio have come out. Tekla, in linking back to repatriation, is one of the 10 points. Also, there is a psychological component, but in a serious way, the health is also part of the issue that has been raised in the 10-point public health crisis, and that I think should also embodied the psychological component. In terms of freeing the and liberating the mind, though, that I think would be connected to education. But how does that work, and how does that fit into the reparations debate? We're going to take a quick break, come back and talk with Bert Samuels and Vereen Shepherd, who will be joining us on the phone lines, continuing the conversation right after this.
Only Optical Elements has the latest technology lenses and frames to suit your taste and budget. Visit us at 67 Halfway Tree Road, online at opticalelementsja.com or call 929-8284. Optical Elements, vision in style. The time by Optical Elements is...
Now 7:52, reminding you that 8:30 it will be time for the Supreme Ventures draw, Cashpot, and the other draws. All right, so we're going to be going back to the discussion in the studio. Ty Beckett and I, Tekla Mekfed. On the phone lines, we're joined by Professor Vereen Shepherd, attorney at law, Pan-Africanist Bert Samuels. Professor Shepherd, Bert Samuels, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning to your in-studio guests and all your listeners, and morning, Bert.
Good morning.
Morning to all. Morning to all.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start with you, Professor Shepherd, on the line as you come in. Don't know if you had a chance to hear the initial responses from the guests in the studio regarding reparations. I want to jump quickly to the 10-point action plan and to say, in terms of Tekla Mekfet's point, when he talked about reparations, this is also one of the points. But can you take us quickly, without going to the details of what the areas are of the 10-point action plan?
Yes, thank you. And I have been listening, so I have some comments to make on the issues, how your guests see reparation. But quickly, the 10-point action plan is framed within the discourse of development. I want to stress that, because reparation for people who are wronged in developed countries is different from reparation in underdeveloped countries and developing countries. That's why it is called the 10-point action plan of CARICOM and a CARICOM reparatory justice program. First, so the 10 points are full formal apology, repatriation is the second, Indigenous Peoples Development Program is the third, number 4, development of cultural institutions, number 5, addressing the public health crisis. Number 6, illiteracy eradication and an educational program for development. Number 7, African Knowledge Program, because of the forced separation of Africans from their homeland, which has resulted in cultural and social alienation from identity and existential belonging. So that is very repairing the breach and reconnecting our people. Number 8 is psychological rehabilitation, because what we're seeing as legacies must be addressed. Number 9, technology transfer, and number 10, debt cancellation. So in a nutshell, that is the Caribbean Reparatory Justice Program, not a financial package which is going to be divided among all people of African descent or all Africans as a payout, and as Tekla says, to give back to the multinational corporations and the businesses that are not ours, but a development package so that everybody benefits and the societies that were damaged by slavery and colonialism would be repaired.
All right, and we want to come back to look at the 10 points individually, but also quickly, you wanted to make some comments about what you heard on the discussion before. Yes, go ahead, Prof.
Yes, well, first of all, the challenge we have, not just in Jamaica, but everywhere we have gone to speak about reparation and all its dimensions. For example, I'm just coming back from Bermuda, where I gave a lecture on reparation. Everywhere we go, we realize that the mountain is high to climb to get our people on board, because for the CARICOM region, the 1970s were active in terms of Pan-Africanism and so on, and people were on the path towards mental liberation. What we are seeing is a pushback, and we are now living in a pro-colonial society. Certainly, that's what I see in Jamaica now. So the mountain is high because of the mental enslavement, and I agree that psychological rehabilitation must be high on our list. So I agree with Tendai and others who say we have to come together and deal with the psychology of slavery, and to ensure that we use all strategies. Education, she pointed out, as one. In terms of repatriation, Tekla, you'll see it's high up on the 10-point action plan. It's number 2, because we have to represent. It's not the whole package, as you see, because we have different constituencies. As we go around, people have different ideas about reparation. So while repatriation is high up on the list, we realize that not everybody wants that as their part of reparatory justice. But for those who want it, we have it there. And the the Rastafarians on the National Commission actually located within the same context as Tekla.
All right. Tekla wanted to respond to that quickly, but Tekla, can you hold the response?
Okay.
Just write it down, and let me just introduce Bert Samuels into the space and for him to make his comments. Bert, you know that we can't have this conversation without looking at the monarchy. It is something that you have taken up as part of your advocacy. Is that when we talk about reparations, to what extent should we be addressing issues to deal with the monarchy, Jamaica as a commonwealth, those issues, the Caribbean? Yes.
That's right. I mean, Professor Shepherd has spoken about the psychological repair that is necessary, and part of it is, even at the intellectual level, we seem to accept that the Queen of England should remain. We have no problem with it as head of Jamaica executive. It's written into the Constitution. And we must start there, because we can't get reparations without removing her, because of the people's mind. And every time in our history when something was to be repaired, the people were led to believe that if they petitioned the Queen, she would do something about the planters' oppression. And here it is, people were naive enough to feel that the Queen was separate and distinct from the oppressors and from the producers of sugar. It was her economy that they were funding. And with hypocrisy, she wrote back to the people of St. Anne, for example, just before the March Day Rebellion and the oppression in Jamaica, that we should work harder. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't believe in reparation. She believes that we must continue to work to benefit her country. So yes, high on the agenda for me is the removal of the Queen of England as the head of state of Jamaica. When she visits here and she speaks to our parliament, I've heard her said, my government in Jamaica. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how can the people be fully liberated unless the Queen of England is removed? And you notice I say the Queen of England because we talk, the way we even talk, we call her the Queen. The Queen means that we accept her as our Queen. No, she's the Queen of England, and she has no place in our constitutional structure. So we must remove that. Every morning in court, when the judge sits down, I hear the police say, God save the Queen in 2014. And our king is who?
We're going to come back. We're going to come forward to that, Tekla, and have Bert, and have Tekla now respond to Vereen. Tekla, you wanted to make a comment there.
But I hadn't finished the point about repatriation.
Okay.
I was saying that the Rastafarian members of the commission have located in contributing to the genealogy of the movement. They have located the repatriation issue within the same context, the biblical context, and the issue of African redemption. And the point about that Tendai made about people have to understand what they're taking back if they're actually going back. I think she's reflecting Garvey when Garvey said, not everybody should go back, because some people are no good here and they will be no good there. Mm-hmm. So I think that, this is part of the reflection. And just to say I support Bert, I mean, Parliament, the same thing. You go into Parliament, the photograph of the Queen of England is there, and people have to pray to the Queen. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Tekla, go ahead.
All this is more important than the costume of whether we have a queen or not, as they use her in the Constitution. What my brother and sister said beside me here, that what are you taking back? This whole thing of return and repatriation is about a return of spirit, of knowledge, a logic of life. What philosophy are we going to apply to using the funds of reparations? The return out of Egypt to Israel is returning to who I is of the beginning, the mother of all humankind. There are certain values. There's a certain philosophy to govern. And that philosophy is in tune with the rhythm of creation, the logic in nature. As this book reasons, it is this overtaking of Africa by the West in their philosophy. If the people want it, there's a market, we will sell it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Money is a way of expressing. Money is the God. So all this thing of repatriation, return to your father, is more than physical. What are we going to take it? Are we going to try and translate and creolize Western economics?
All right, go ahead, Vereen.
No, I mean, we understand that. That is why I keep stressing it's a package. It's a development package. The whole discourse is located within the discourse of development. We locate this within the damage done to Africa, all the peoples of Africa, and the whole carving up. And even if you go back to what you know, so it's about repair and redemption. But because we are so alienated physically, geographically, psychologically, that's why we're calling for a reparation program that will address all these issues. It's not about a payout of money that people will then spend back. It's about development, and it's not about money going to governments, which are going to misuse, who will then misuse the money.
So in other words, so in other words, Vereen, and where the disconnect is in terms of what reparations look like. How will this be operationalized? Because even at our level, Pan-Africanists, Rastafarians in the studio, the conversation, regardless of many fora, still goes back to the reparations money, the payout, the funds. What would you do with it? What is it? Where's the disconnect? What is it in terms of the action plan, in terms of what the CARICOM Reparations Commission is calling for that majority of us are not getting?
I think the majority of people see reparation as a financial settlement, and in most cases of reparation historically, we have seen reparation in terms of land reclamation or in terms of a financial payout. We are saying, first of all, you can't assign a financial value to what was done to our people, right? But there is a formula for working out a financial package, but even if we do that, it is going to be inaccurate. But we have a general idea of what is the debt, but we're saying what the action plan. But we have a general idea of what is the debt, but we're saying what the action plan is to ensure, through a meeting with European states, a discussion about how to repair our societies, how to address all these areas, and maybe more. More will come out at the conference that we're going to in October. And Dorbreen will tell you about the program later on when he joins you.
Yes.
But it is, and we have been trying to say, it is not about people, and Jose Marti puts it right. It's not an act of begging. It is a demand. It's a right, and it's a development in underdeveloped countries. It's a whole package to ensure our society is repaired from the damage done.
All right, so
and I don't know how else to put it.
Let me bring in Bert Summers. Bert, that's you coming in there?
No. Yeah. I wanted Vereen, I'd like for you to develop the 27 million pounds
yes.
compromise that was made in 1833.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. If we're talking about money, at the moment of emancipation, the planters demanded financial compensation before they would agree to emancipation. Remember that this was a parliamentary action, so the majority had to go for it. So they demanded 47 million pounds sterling in 1834 before they would agree. The British government paid them 20 million in cash. That's 76 billion in today's money, 26 billion pounds. The other 27 million pounds is what our ancestors worked on through what they call euphemistically apprenticeship system. So in the end, they actually got 47 million pounds sterling worth of compensation. But that was for the entire Caribbean, British Caribbean. Jamaica's share of any of that is 1/3. I want to stress that because people have been saying, give us back the 20 million. But if give us back the 47 million, which is for the entire Caribbean, and 1/3 of that is for Jamaica. But that is a small drop in the bucket in terms of the damage done and what it would require to develop and repair Caribbean societies.
Listen, this whole thing of reparation, it's not a parochial thing. You see, this book that this woman writes...
And we keep saying this book,
I know the book is by Nora Whitman.
Yes.
And we have had her in our Reparation Commission.
Right.
No, the point I want to make, though, is this. Reparations, how African peoples handle this reparations is important to the whole world, all cultures. Yes. Because it is a confrontation with Western powers who got their power out of Africa. And all the problems of the world that exists now, all the ecological problems, all the fighting and the terrorism, they all relate to this fight for power, which presently it seems that the West holds built on African peoples.
All right, in terms of the 10-point action plan, Tekla, and what you know of the CARICOM Reparations Commission and the work that has already been done and that's continuing through the conferences and so on, where would you like to see this go, and where is there an omission that is not there? Tell us how would you have crafted this?
Andrew, before Tekla responds, could you just allow me to say that?
Well, he's saying that he's not criticizing. I understand that you're not criticizing, Tekla.
I don't care if he criticizes. We want all views. No, I just wanted to say the main value of Nora Whitman's book for the reparation movement in the Caribbean is that she dismisses in legal terms, because she addresses it from the legal perspective. Her main contribution to us, she demolishes this ideology that slavery was legal at the time and therefore we have no right to redress. This is the main value of Nora Whitman's book for us.
All right. There's an added sense, though, of Africa for the world, because she starts the book with, when African righteous people come together, the world will come together. So there's a sense that Mother Africa is central to healing the confusion of the Western-dominated world.
But they are linked into the movement. This reparation struggle is a global movement in which Africa is involved with us. And that is why we're hoping that at the conference, all the ideas will come together so that when CARICOM is negotiating with Europeans, then we have Africa as central in this discussion too. But
let me just go. Let me hold your point, Vereen.
Yes.
Bert, in terms of the point you made earlier, the Queen of England and the letter that was written even during the Morant Bay Rebellion and her response and so on, is there then a conflict in terms of the idea of sitting down with Europeans, Queen of England included, as we seek to work out this idea of what reparations should look like, how we should move from there? Is there a conflict inherent in that?
You are correct, because when the Jamaican state is putting forward its case, it can't put forward that case with the Queen of England being the head of Jamaica, because we would be making a demand against ourselves virtually, and there's a conflict there. You're correct. In other words, true independence has not yet come. We're not truly independent because we still have the colonial master as head of Jamaica. So we have to rid that before we can make a claim on behalf of African Jamaicans. Because African Jamaicans now are led currently constitutionally by the Queen of England. So you are correct. There's this contradiction, and it is a prerequisite.
I don't see a contradiction, because we can't wait until Jamaican government works that out for and pause the reparation movement. These things can go on in a parallel way, and in our report, Andrea and guests, which by the way has been accepted by cabinet and is going to Parliament anytime now, we have made it clear that even though we have a government here, and we have a prime minister, and we have our internal systems, internal reparation also has to take place. So we have to negotiate with the people who are in power. So I don't see any conflict. I see that the people, and it's the best time, the people who have done us wrong are the people who are still exploiting us. So we have to have a conversation with them. This is not a Fanonian period in which we are going to take up arms and have confrontation. We have, but there is a backup plan endorsed by Whitman and Gifford and all the other lawyers that, you know, it may come eventually to a legal battle, but we can't wait until the monarchy is removed before we begin this. In fact, it's better to have the discussion now.
And Bert Samuels is an attorney, is a lawyer who is also a member of the Reparations Commission. So I take it that you're one of those lawyers, Bert, that Vereen just mentioned, who have come to some a conclusion as to how to move forward legally.
Yes, I mean, we didn't. You remember that first effort was made when she had the Jubilee down here, and she was serving papers, and we did take an action in the Jamaican courts.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of test case because they used some of the arguments that against us in the Jamaican courts, that slavery was legal at the time, and Whitman's book has destroyed the thesis, and also that the time that the persons who are now suffering are not the persons who are enslaved. So we know the legal obstacles that were put forward, and the research is going in a direction to see that we can counter those in the event, as Vereen has said, it comes down to a legal battle. However, it is not. That is plan B at the moment. That is to start the conversation.
But the thing is, we have all the research necessary to demolish every point. And the legal committee on the NCR, including Bird, Gifford, and others, what has gone into the report to Parliament contains the views of the legal experts on our commission, and they have gone point by point to demolish each point that Europe brings as a point. For example, you can't look at me, and I've just realized that my ancestry lies among the Tikar people of Cameroon. How did my ancestors reach here? You can't look at me and say I have no case because I'm a descendant. My ancestors were brought here forcefully. I have a case. And they can't say it was legal at the time. That's been demolished. And also, we know that if you say the descendants should not claim reparation, then why are the descendants of those who got compensation money or whose countries were developed by our ancestors, why are their descendants still enjoying the proceeds of that money? We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Shepherd. I know that you're traveling, and also that we're going to be meeting shortly in Antigua and Barbuda for the second CARICOM conference on reparations, October 12 to 14. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bert Samuels. Appreciate this. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to, thank you, Bert. We're going to go to Antigua and Barbuda shortly. But Tendai, hearing from two members of the Reparations Commission in Jamaica, your response.
Well, first of all, I had a question concerning the psychological trauma that we've experienced all these centuries that leads to 1,200 people being murdered in Jamaica and 80 people being shot in Chicago over a weekend. I mean, that is some serious psychological trauma that leads to these kind of devastating events. Now, what in the I was going to ask
Professor Shepherd.
Yes, I was going to ask that. Yes. What in the 10-point plan do they have to address those types of issues?
All right, and in terms of the yes, go ahead.
There's the legal point they have about what they call laches, that you may have taken too long to make your claim. But this relates more to injunctions, I'm told, than this claim for damages. And the thing of, listen, you're no longer suffering. There's a concept called Mafa. There's a book, it's a Swahili word for disaster.
Yes.
It's a book written by someone called Marimba Annie.
Yeah, she was here as our guest recently.
The whole idea of the concept in the title, let the circle be unbroken. The implications of African spirituality in the diaspora. We scattered. Reparation is a wonderful opportunity to get together. Africa and the Caribbean and African peoples all over. One point that Nora Whitman's book makes very well it's a difficulty. We say that African leaders have been part of the trade. They sold us. The point is argued very reasonably in this book that the African leaders had very little choice. The white man came with guns. He gave it to one tribe. That tribe now has dominance over you. You better get your own gun. They have better tools, the use of iron. You give it to one tribe, and so it is. The white trader would play off the tribes against each other, and everybody would have to become armed and the various dons in the various areas. So when we recognize this, then we can be at one with our brothers at home and abroad. And this reparation thing, to have its impact in international law, has to be a vast sense of this is our right, our justice. We're not asking. We know who we are and what you have done, and we demand this. And reconciliation means reparation. And that confidence, African peoples coming together for the world.
And to the point, Tekla, that was raised by Taibika just now, that you wanted to pose to Professor Shepherd in the 10-point plan, and she made a note of it earlier on, African Knowledge Program. It actually goes on to say that the forced separation of Africans from their homeland has resulted in cultural and social alienation from identity and existential belonging. Denied the right in law to life and divorced by space from the source of historic self, Africans have carved the right to return and the knowledge of the root, R-O-U-T-E, to roots. So I think it is addressed in the African Knowledge Program. The psychological trauma, the psychic trauma that you're talking about. It goes on to talk about a program of action is required to build bridges of belonging. Does that answer in any way the question you were asking?
I hope so.
I have a concern.
Yes.
If we look at history.
There's also number 8, psychological rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. That is on the action point plan, number 8. And it says for over 400 years, Africans and their descendants were classified in law as non-human, chattel property and real estate. They were denied recognition as members of a human family by laws derived from the parliament and palaces of Europe. And it goes on to say, the history has inflicted massive psychological trauma upon African descendant populations. This much is evident daily in the Caribbean, and only a reparatory justice approach to truth and educational exposure can begin the process of healing and repair. So it seems as if it is catered to and catered for in the action point plan. Go ahead.
My concern is this. In history, it has shown that there, in different times where we have fought for reparations, it's always 100 years or so later, and it's always stated that those who were actually in the situation. So we can fight for reparations now, which we know that we won't get it and our children won't get it. However, as those plans, those points, I think we should be taking those issues now and actually put it in action, put it into place, programs, teaching our children who they are, why they are,
so that
waiting.
So our own responsibility
yes.
is what you're talking about, what the responsibility
yes.
of the state, our responsibility as individuals.
Yes.
Let me welcome on the phone lines Dobrini Omadi, who is the chairperson of the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission. Dobrini, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning from Antigua and Barbuda.
Good morning. Good morning. Greetings from Antigua and Barbuda and the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission.
Okay, brilliant. We have in the studio Tekla Mekfet, Nana Tendai, and Taibika. And just heard from Professor Vereen Shepherd and Bert Samuels. We're talking to you ahead of a second CARICOM conference on reparations, October 12 and 14. And in the few minutes that we have in this segment, want to look at what the theme of the conference is, what are the objectives of the conference.
Yeah, but certainly I was particularly pleased as I was listening, waiting to come on the program to hear the discussion on the 10-point plan, the 10-point plan put out by the Caribbean Reparations Commission. What we hope to do in this second conference is actually staged by the Caribbean Reparations Commission, hosted by the Antigua and Barbuda government and by the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission. What we're really hoping to do essentially is to workshop that Caribbean Reparatory Justice 10-point program. It has been issued by the CRC. We are now, during this conference, offering all our stakeholders, all the national commissions, all the individual experts, etc., an opportunity to chew it up, to really refine that program. And what we are hoping to get out of the conference, essentially, is a full-fledged plan that we are fully committed to working forward. Mm-hmm. It's seen as a scientific engagement and community mobilization effort as we continue our public education, public awareness efforts to spread the whole concept of reparations throughout this region.
Right, and then you say you're hoping to get at the end of this conference this full-fledged plan that you can move forward with. What are some of the elements of that plan that will convince you that yes, here's a plan that we can move forward to? What are some of the elements that have to be included in that?
Well, no, I think we have the elements already, and I just heard the discussions going on.
Yes.
I think essentially the legal challenge is going to be a very important one. How do we move this forward? The whole question of the politics of it and the diplomacy of the effort, I think, is going to be very, very important. I think we are challenged to hold this movement together, especially from a political point of view. We know so many of our governments are really taking people through a very, very hard time, the international economics, etc. Certainly are not on the side of unity in this particular sense. We fear the possibilities of governments, individual governments, for example, being offered favorable terms on certain issues, and that this movement may not hold together as strongly as it is appearing today. We are very, very happy, of course, very, very pleased that the decisions about reparations from the political point of view have been unanimous today, and we really strive hard to hold that movement together. The other aspect, of course, is among our people ourselves, and there was some discussion just before I came on the program about the individual responsibilities, the responsibilities of the various commissions, to look at what we call in Antigua internal reparations program. In other words, that there are many, many things within that 10-point action plan that we can take personal responsibility.
And I think this is what you were talking to just now, Nana Tendai, that what is our responsibility? So the internal reparations plans would address what you're saying. Tabika, with just 2 minutes to go, and while you're on, Dabrini, as a member of the chairperson of the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission, Tabika has been raising the question of the psychic trauma, and while I was able to address that to some extent from the action plan, what are your own views on this?
Well, certainly. I mean, we look across the Caribbean, and there are certain behaviors. I mean, the violence that's spreading across this region. For example, that preparedness to take sharp objects to one another, the distrust, within business, the certain hatred of self, the skin lightness, the long flowing hair that we are seeing all across this region, the quick adoption and adaptation to all sorts of weird fashions that do not come from us. We are seeing this, we are seeing this whole scene as really an expression of that psychological trauma that we're talking about. That self-hate that seems to perpetuate this kind of
And you're saying, Tekla, that symbolically this is...
That is it.
The coming out of...
No, Israel ruling with God the Creator, your father, ancestral father.
I think it's unfortunate that we're using Egypt and Israel.
We got okay, but you get the point.
I get the point.
Listen, I have a nice quote I know you would love to close with towards the end.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
So remember that.
Okay, I'll write that down. All right, Adobune, we have to go in a minute or two. But Ty Becky, do you want to follow up on that?
No, I wanted to add to it in terms of the educational aspect of it. What type of education are we stressing? The same one that we've been giving our children for all these years? Or are we going to...
Well, no. I mean, that has proved a major challenge, the teaching of history across this region.
Of course.
A major challenge of getting things like the CXC curriculum adapted. And Professor Vivian Shepherd always stresses in our meetings that it's not only the curriculum, but it's also the individuals who we have teaching history. This is work that the Commission has identified to do, and said
whose
will
history are we
continue in its attempt to look at that history curriculum, to look generally at the application of historical knowledge across the development.
And historical knowledge, I'm glad you used that, because I'm thinking as you taught that, and it's not just history, it's chemistry, it's the sciences, it's how we learn about ourselves, it's physics, it's how we deny the achievements of people of our race, the great men and women of our race, and even teaching that. Dobrini, I do have to wrap, I'm so sorry, but we'll talk again before the conference. Thank you so much.
I really look forward to seeing so many folks who have already indicated that they're coming in from Jamaica. I think we have a fairly decent conference planned that will help us to advance this reparatory justice.
All right. I hope
so much for having me.
I hope to be there. See you then. Thanks so much. All right. We're not quite wrapped yet, Tekla. We're going to continue after. Yes. All right. In a while, we're standing by for the listen up. Top draw, dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, cash pot, and early bird draws are up next. And we go to that as soon as it comes up. That's coming up at 8:30. But just to remind you, on the 8-point action, the Caribbean Reparatory Justice Program 10-point action plan, you heard Professor Shepherd going through that just now. That there's also she mentioned repatriation. There's technology transfer as one of that. Debt cancellation is a 10th point on the 10-point action plan. We'll talk a bit more when we come back from the Supreme Ventures Super Lotto draw. We're going to be linking with Mandingo, and Mandingo is in the UK. The Reparations March happened on August 1. All right, we're standing by for the Supreme Ventures Cashpot draw, 8:30. All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum, Running African. We're talking about reparations this morning. And in the studio, my very, very special guests, Tekla Mekfet, Nana Tendai, and Baba Taibika. And we're going to go to the phone lines now to speak with Mandingo, who is in the UK. And while we wait for that call to come in, just to go back a bit, all right? Here we are with Mandingo coming in. Mandingo, good morning.
Good morning, Kabu, and to all the listeners and participants in the program that I have been listening to this Sunday, the 14th of September 2014. And I am also giving thanks to the Almighty Creator, Ra, or in the language of the Akan people, it would be Onyami. In the language of the Yoruba, it would be Oloron or Olodumare, because I'm not into Abraham and Hebrews.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. You were part of the organizing team for the Reparations March from Brixton to Westminster. What was the thinking behind that march, first of all? Why that march?
The thinking behind that march can be summarized in the first two policy positions of Marcus Garvey's organization, the UNIA and ACL, which were ratified under the leadership of his son, Marcus Garvey Jr., at the 9th International Convention in 1992. Reparations should be sought as a legal right from all European and Arab slave trading nations who took part in the forcible removal of Africans from our continent. The passage of time cannot affect our right to reparations. No statute of limitations can run against genocide. Reparations should be paid to the Africans, descendants of the enslaved Africans, transported across the Atlantic and also shipped to the Arab world, as well as to all the countries in Africa from which enslaved Africans were taken. That's reparations. And it is allied inextricably with repatriation. Policy position 1, because that was policy position 2, is repatriation is a human right for all Africans who were forcibly removed from our homeland of Africa and subjected to enslavement. Hence, their descendants, that's us, should and must have the right of return to our motherland.
All right. So the march then, those are the principles upon which we had this massive march from Brixton to Westminster. What was the demand at the end of the day? What happened? Did you? What was the reason for it? The objective? Did you meet that objective?
Well, as I said, that we made the demand, and it's not begging. We made the demand because people must overstand that reparations...
Sorry, Mandingo, did those demands, were they similar to what's coming out of the CARICOM Reparations Commission, or the demands were...
No, they were not similar, because this is reparations, as we said, for Africans globally.
Right.
The CARICOM situation is dealing with the CARICOM. We are dealing with Africans at home and abroad.
Yes. So that, what were they?
Well, as I said, that we have the right the right of return to our motherland.
Yes.
And we also, reparations must be paid to us, the descendants of our ancestors who were enslaved.
So that they were more general in nature and not specific in terms of numbers or items, or more general letter that was handed to Westminster.
Yes, it involves, part of it is money that has to be negotiated.
Okay.
But reparations is not all about money. It is also reparations in two senses. That we as Africans today, we have to repair ourselves because our enemies cannot, and of course even if they could, would not repair ourselves. That's internal.
Tekla, let me just go to Tekla a minute, Mandingo. Tekla, how important is it? Because we've been calling for reparations for many, many moons, and many letters have been handed to many different heads of states and governments and kings and queens across the world. How important is it to go in the direction, say, for example, the CARICOM Reparations Commission is going in, but to be specific? Do we need to have some kind of a conversation about what we do and how we do it when we're demanding reparations, and not so general?
I think most importantly, each people, you need to know that you are not begging.
Yes.
That this is a right. That this is a reflection of what has happened in history. And that reflection in history should make everyone know I am not Jamaican, I'm an African living in Jamaica. And I have a right for what you did to what you did to your ancestors, you do to today manifest. And with this conviction and building up this sense of Africa all over the world, at home and abroad, so that the brothers and sisters at home can stop feeling uncomfortable with us, who they sometimes call slave babies. to know that we are in the same cause. So let Africa come together, because all that Africa needs is within her. So we don't want to make over capitalism. We want to dig within ourselves, our philosophy, and move forward for the world. Marcus Garvey said, we didn't come here for entertainment, but to save this degenerate Western civilization.
I'm realizing that we have only 3 minutes left in this segment, 2 minutes to be frank, and I know you also want to give a quote. So let me just go quickly back to Mandingo. I want to say, Mandingo, a formal apology is part of the 10-point action plan. Britain under Tony Blair gave a regret statement. What's the difference between the formal apology and the regret for you?
Well, if he had apologized, just as in U.S. presidents and so on, then it would have taken the situation in a legal manner. And Tony Blair was avoiding that situation in issuing an apology. He's trying to get out of the situation for it to be a court matter. And I must say that Bert Samuels is totally correct in that we must, as part and parcel of the same fight, get rid of this situation where we have the Queen of England as the head of state in Jamaica.
We're going to leave it there, Mandingo.
This is totally contradictory.
Mandingo, we have to leave it there. You know, it's a conversation that's ongoing. We'll make it a much longer one next time. Thank you so much.
Definitely. I wish to contribute more, so as soon as you can.
Yes, it's ongoing. All right, with just a few seconds to go, Tekla, I really want to hear that quote.
Okay, slavery reparations, the time is now. There's a quote used in this book. It's from Nobel Prize winner Albert Schweitzer, a distinguished white man. Here it is. How did the whites of all nationalities deal with the indigenous since the discovery of new lands? What signifies the fact alone that wherever Europeans went in the name of Jesus, such great number of peoples have perished already? A debt weighs on us. The good we owe them is no act of charity, but reparations. And when we will have done all that is in our power, we will only have repaired a small part of the wrongs committed. Amen.
It's a very amen. It's a fitting ashe. It's a amenhotep. It's a fitting way to go out. Tendai, thank you so much, my sister, as usual. Thank you so much, Taibika. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, my brother Tekla McFett, as usual. Always available when you call upon them. And to Professor Vereen Shepherd and Bert Samuels, thank you so much. We're heading to Antigua and Barbuda on October 12 and 14 for the second CARICOM conference on reparations. IRFM's local and international headlines are up next. After that, IRFM Sunday Sports Diary.
This is news from IRFM, Jamaica's non-aligned news voice.
Good morning. I'm Lanier Green with the local and international headlines. The lobby group Citizens Action for Principles and Integrity, CAPI, has launched an initiative to help the family of Mario Dean meet his funeral expenses. The initiative by CAPI comes following reports that Dean's family refused the government's offer to provide assistance for Dean's funeral. In a statement yesterday, CAPI's co-convener, Dennis Meadows, says the initiative has the family's approval and called on that should be 500 persons to come forward and donate $1,000 each to help ensure that Dean is laid to rest with dignity. The burial is set for next Sunday, September 21, at the Mount Salem Seventh-day Adventist Church in St. James. 31-year-old Mario Dean died at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay on August 6, 3 days after he was brutally beaten while in the custody of the Barnett Street Police for a ganja spliff. Donations can be made to the family's account by using the account number 823837. That's 823837 at any branch of the Bank of Nova Scotia. The Ministry of Agriculture says the beet armyworm infestation that has been plaguing St. Elizabeth has declined to less than 5% in cultivations still affected by the pest. Acting Deputy Director of the Crop and Plant Protection Unit in the Ministry's Research and Development Division, Michelle Sherwood, says this decline results from extensive field work undertaken by the Ministry in collaboration with the farmers and other stakeholders across the parish. Speaking following the recent graduation ceremony for participants in the Ministry's 9-week Farmers Capacity Building Training Program in St. Elizabeth, Mrs. Sherwood says, while the worm is still present in the parish, it exists in very low numbers. She informed that the last major pest outbreak in St. Elizabeth since the worm first surfaced in 2009 was in 2012. Police in St. Anne have charged 3 juveniles with murder. They are charged for the chopping death of 18-year-old Lamar Williams, also called Fathead, of Blackens Lane in Runaway Bay, St. Anne. A 4th juvenile who was taken into custody in relation to Williams's death is yet to be charged. Investigators say he is to be placed on an identification parade soon. Williams was hacked to death on August 30. Reports are that Williams was walking along the Runaway Bay main road when he was attacked by a group of teenagers armed with machetes. Williams ran into the Cox Heath area in the bid to escape, but was chased by his attackers. They caught him and chopped him several times and made their escape. The juveniles were held in the next day following a special operation. They're expected to face the court this week. In news overseas, Liberian President Helen Johnson Sirleaf has sacked 10 government officials who have been out of the country without an excuse amid a national Ebola crisis. She said the officials had shown insensitivity to the national tragedy and disregard for authority. The 10 were given a 1-week ultimatum more than a month ago to return home. Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea are the worst-hit countries in an outbreak that has killed more than 2,400. More than half of those killed by the Ebola virus have been in Liberia. Finally, UK's Prime Minister says Britain will take whatever steps are necessary to keep the country safe following the killing of hostage David Haines by Islamic State militants. David Cameron said the UK will hunt down the killers of the aid worker whom he called a British hero. He said Britain had to confront the ultimately destroy the menace in a calm, deliberate way. Mr. Haines was seized in Syria in 2013. He was being held by Islamic State militants who had already killed 2 U.S. captives. A video of the 44-year-old's beheading was released yesterday. A masked militant who appears to have a British accent was pictured beside Mr. Haines holding a knife. Those were the local and international headlines. News next at 11:45. You can go online to ariafm.net to view some of the stories. Like us on facebook.com/ariafm news. Follow us on Twitter at ariafm_news. From the Ariafm newsroom, I'm Lanigay Green.
That was news from IRIFM, Jamaica's non-aligned news voice.
Thank you very much, Lanigay Green, with the local and international headlines. Wade Brown is here with IRFM Sunday Sports Diary. Coming up right after this.
People, you think you really know Jack Mackerel, but this Jack is the king of the pack. Jack Mackerel from Grinks. Better value, better taste. Take home a can today.
The time is
8 minutes now, going up to 9 o'clock, and it's time for the Sports Diary. Is my brother Miguel Law, an attorney at law, representing the family of Mario Dean. Mario Dean, of course, the young man who was so brutally beaten in police custody, died just hours later in hospital. An outrage is sparked here in Jamaica, and it's an ongoing righteous indignation as people in Jamaica say, no more. Let it end with Mario Dean. No more, no more, no more. Brother Miguel, thank you so much.
Greetings and blessings, and thanks for a wonderful program. I've been listening to it.
Okay, thank you as usual, my brother. All right, Miguel, and also let me just congratulate you on the work you have been doing with the family of Mario Dean, to have so thrown yourself into that advocacy, justice. This is the kind of stuff that we need to see coming out of Jamaica, and you're doing some great works there. Now, the latest in the Mario Dean situation is that the time for burial is up on us, and the family have rejected the offer made by government. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. You see, we want people to understand that there are still persons in this country that maintains a dignity and a principled position. And the family said to me, knowing Mario would not have accepted a cent from the government to bury him. That's one. Secondly, the government has not yet accepted liability or responsibility for his death. The government has had over a month now. We know when the government wants to move, they move, especially when they get orders from abroad or they are serving masters from abroad. So we know when they want, and we think over a month though should be sufficient for them to know where they stand with regards to his death.
Yes.
Whether he was beaten directly by the police or indirectly, just being placed in cells with persons who should not be there, that must be extreme situation. And they have been procrastinating in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So the family said, look, we are not going to accept your money to bury our son. In addition to that, Sister Andrea, the manner in which the offer was made, you can just imagine somebody from the NIS calling you, and which is what happened, and call the mother of Mario Dean, Miss Mercia Fraser, and say to her, tell you what, you get an estimate, and I'm putting it nicely, you get an estimate of how much it will cost to bury him, and we will see how much of it we can meet.
I don't even want to laugh. That is not a laugh.
I tell you, my sister, which person of dignity would have accepted that? You get an estimate, and we will. You don't do things like that. Here is a mother who has lost her son. There's no condolences. There's not even a letter of any regret. Nothing. You get an estimate and come. In other words, we're doing you a favor. No.
Yeah.
The family says never in such circumstances.
It's a disdain and disregard that the state and that the agencies, the state agencies, have for the people of Jamaica. We feel it and we experience it at so many different levels, Brother Miguel.
And you see, they are accustomed to doing it, you see.
Yes.
And you just do it, and it's a 9-day wonder that will disappear.
So we support a family that stands up against that kind of nastiness and say no.
Absolutely, my sister.
So basically, what's happening then? As a result of that, obviously the family is challenged. The family is challenged to find funds to even do this, and so that there is a public appeal to the hearts of the Jamaican people to assist, because Mario is our son.
Yes.
Yes.
The family has opened an account. It's at the Bank of Nova Scotia. It's opened at the Nigwell branch, but you can lodge the money at any Bank of Nova Scotia. The account number is 823-837. And the name, it's in the name of Mercia Fraser. Mercia, M-E-R-C-I-A, Fraser, F-R-A-Z-I-E-R. And we are calling on the people of Jamaica, not just to give towards Mario's funeral, but your giving is a statement that you are in support of the challenge that is being made to ensure that there's not another Mario next week, there's not another Mario next month, and there's not another Mario next year. We must send that message to the government that it has to stop now. Has to stop.
My brother, give us that number again and the name in which it is in.
The number is 823-837, Bank of Nova Scotia,
It's opened at the Negril branch, but you can lodge it to any bank of Nova Scotia, Mercia Fraser. And if you walk into any bank of Nova Scotia throughout Jamaica and say to them, the Mario Dean funeral project, they can tell you the number and you can lodge. If it's $100, $50, no matter how small, we are making a statement with every donation here.
All right. Once again, the account number at the BNS, Bank of Nova Scotia, 823-837, in the name of Mercia Fraser. And it's an appeal to the hearts of Jamaicans to stand up against injustice, to stand up against patronage in the way in which it is coming to us. The call that was made to Maria Dean's mother, the disregard for life, the disregard for justice. It is a call to action. Thank you so much, Miguel. What else what's the latest? Where's the case? How is it going?
The case at the moment, both Indicom is conducting some identification parades over this weekend between now to Monday. They have an identification parade to identify some of the officers who may be involved and to see whether or not they will charge them. The police inspectorate is also doing its own investigation and to see what charges will be laid against certain persons. Those who are actually charged, the insane persons, the matter will be going before the court on Thursday the 18th of this month. That's this Thursday coming up. The matter will be again before the court. The pathologists, both Dr. Michael Baden and Dr. Sangarai, they are planning to complete their post-mortem reports by the end of this week. So we are hoping to get those reports by the end of this week, and we will take it from there when we see the reports.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Miguel Lorne. Thank you so much. We'll keep in touch with you to find out how this is going. And once again, to make the appeal to Jamaica to help to contribute to this fund that's been set up for Maria Dean. 823-837 is a BNS account in the name of Mercia Fraser. Thank you, Miguel.
I give thanks, my sister. And just to add that I too will be at the conference. You know, I can't leave out my reparations.
No, yes.
So I will be there with you all in Antigua to ensure that part of the fire keeps burning also.
I'm very happy to know that you'll be there. It means that I can always run back at you. Miguel, restaurant. Anyway, me and you, Miguel. Thank you so much, Miguel.
A blessing.
All right.
Give thanks.
All right, so it's good to know that the team is going to be there. Of course, Professor Vereen Shepherd will be on the ground there in Antigua, and members of the Reparations Commission. We just heard Brother Miguel Lorne saying that he'll be there. It's the second CARICOM conference on reparations. It's in Antigua and Barbuda. Says politics engulfs us in slavery, continue to trick the lower class of a population who vote them in, and they're the ones who suffer. She also says that, all right, so I've got that a few times. All right, DJ Pool J.A. says the Queen must be removed as the head of state. Thank you for that, Kempu. And Irie Daughter says, Hotep says, okay, one program on Sunday morning. Number one program on Sunday morning. All right, at Kirin Supreme. Kane Supreme says, McLaughlin and Locking right now to the Africa Forum. Okay, thank you for that call out. Come tap into your truth. Crisis in the Congo, at Crisis in the Congo, saying, okay, thank you for breaking the silence on Congo from beautiful Jamaica, DRC Congo Week 2014. At Nediman says, Congo River Basin are the lungs of the planet. Thank you so very much for that. Hashtag bless Congo. And Aldith Hunker at Aldith_Hunker says, important part of reparations should be the rewriting of history books taught in European schools. Michelle, our daughter says, okay, all right, so we have that. And at Kelly Catherine says, Winifred Beach, Portland, there are sinister plans to take away that from us, nasty politics and big business. Now, it is true that we are paying very, very close attention to Winifred Beach in no ordinary way. We're paying serious attention to that. We want to you. All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. It's Running African. In this segment of the program, we're going to be going to students at the University of the West Indies, Lisa Sutton and Alicia Richards. They are the co-founders of the new African club to be launched at UWI called the Club Africa. All right. Let's go to the lines where Lisa and Alicia are standing by. Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Greetings, Kabu.
Greetings, my sister.
Good morning, Kabu.
Good morning, Alicia. Get used to it. All right, okay. Lisa, let me just congratulate you. You have been working on this for a very, very long time, I know, and you are very persistent in ensuring that this get off the ground. What made you? Is this the first Club Africa named? I know you've had many Pan-African clubs at UWI over many, many years, but is this the first one with called an African club, Club Africa? Was there one before? Is this the first one?
I may stand corrected, but I think so. There was the Marcus Garvey movement some years ago, but I think this is the first Club Africa.
All right, so you're actually starting this from the ground. What made you decide to do this? And when you called me about this, actually, when I heard about it from other persons that you were doing this a few months ago, I had just come from a reasoning at Erna Broadber's Black Space in Woodside, and one of the things we had discussed was the need for Pan-African clubs at the tertiary levels and also the primary levels, but definitely at the tertiary levels. At the time, not knowing that you were actually doing this, what led you to do this?
Well, it was basically a vision, a shared vision. When I came to the university, I didn't really see anything, any club, any movement that I wanted to really invest my time and energy in. And there was this transformation going on in the air, with students getting more Afrocentric, more African-oriented. And so the idea came to me, and I said, I felt that there were others out there who were having the same feeling of wanting something about their black to identify with. And so I just had only the name, basically. I only had the name, but nothing else. And I just sent out some flyers saying, if you're interested in this concept, come on board. And these students, they just shocked me. They emailed me and said, hey, we love this. We can't wait. Long time we wanted this. Let's meet and get started. So,
right. So you had a pretty good response. And Alicia was one of those persons?
Yes, I was.
So, Alicia, what did you see? Was it a flyer or did you hear about it otherwise?
I saw a flyer and I signed my name up. But it's so ironic that me and Lisa, we lived on the same hall last year.
Okay.
And, emailing each other back and forth. We didn't even know who we were talking to. Until eventually we found out that, we know each other from living previously on the same hall, and the rest is history.
Okay, the rest is Club Africa.
Yes.
All right. So tell me about Club Africa, Lisa. What is it? What tenets are the club founded on? Is it Pan-African? Is it more nationalistic? What kind of club is it?
It's big. It's a very big umbrella. It's all about Africa, African culture. The primary aim is to promote the truth about Africa, her peoples, and her contribution to world civilization, because that due to the American media, there are many, many misconceptions and erroneous beliefs about Africa in the dark continent and all that bad stuff, which we are very much accustomed to. So that's the main objective, the main aim of Club Africa.
Okay.
To promote the truth about Africa and her people. Let people be more aware and accept the fact that, we're all Africans, living in Jamaica.
What do you
embrace that side of us?
What do you currently get, just anecdotally, from the university campus generally in terms of how people respond to their African identity or not? Lisa?
Well, basically the general perception you're asking of.
In terms of here you have Club Africa. You're saying one of the aims is to ensure that people tap into the African identity, learn the truth about ourselves, about Africa, and begin to identify ourselves as Africans. And I'm wondering, what's the situation, generally speaking, maybe among your peers, because you can't talk for the entire university, you is a big, big campus, but among your peers, what are you getting? What's the feeling in terms of whether or not people identify themselves as Africans, they want to know about Africa, or are people identifying as Jamaican and are more Eurocentric in their outlook?
No, there's a mixture. Yeah. I would say there's a mixture. Right now, from my experiences, I would say that the majority of university students are they're not unaware. Yeah. Everybody will tell you, yes, our foreparents were slaves or they came from Africa, but they're not aware of that legacy, that greatness of Africa. That's what they're not aware of.
Okay.
And most times, some persons, in terms of identity, most times you have persons saying, yes, I'm of African ancestry, but I'm Jamaican. Yeah. So, it's kind of that lack of cultural identity. Yeah, that confusion right there.
Right, and it reflects the society generally that we're not making the distinction between race and nationality, so that we identify our nationality as Jamaican, but to identify a race to which we belong, that there is some ambivalence there. So I thought this, what's happening among your peers, really reflecting the thinking in the society, I think. All right, so how will this club function? You are the founding president for now, Lisa?
Yeah, president, founding member for now.
Yes. And Alicia, you are the treasurer?
Yes, I am.
Right, and I know you have a constitution and everything.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Right. So you're starting out with...
Just to make it clear, registered with the Office of Student Services and Development and the Guild of UMONA.
All right. You also have lecturers who are advisors to the club. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, sure. We have a good list of staff advisors, including quality more than numbers. Right now we have, just to name a few, Dr. Michael Barnett, Dr. from the Social Department, Dr. Clinton Hutton from the same department, Dr. Imani Safari, Amma,
yes,
and Caroline Cooper, and some others. It's a very good group, though.
Yes,
quality group.
Yes, you do have a quality group there. All right. So the club is going to be launched when?
So right now, the date that we're looking at is the 25th of September.
Okay.
However, the other details are yet to be confirmed. As soon as they are confirmed, we'll pass on that information.
That is fine. We look forward to that. In the meantime, how can persons who are students at the University of the West Indies be a part of this? And is it opened also to NCU and UTEC and the other tertiary campuses, or is it just a UE club?
So right now it starts in UE, so it's just a UE club, but we are doing some communications with the African Cultural Renaissance Movement. That's the African club, so to speak, at UTEC. So we were looking forward to collaborating with them. So right now we're in communications.
Yes. All right. That sounds good. And how can persons contact you for persons who want to be members of the club?
The movement. Well, we have an FB page and we also have a Twitter page, so people can follow us on Twitter and like our FB page and communicate with us through those two mediums. Okay. And the FB and the Twitter page is Club Africa.
Just that same
same spelling.
Hold on. That's your Twitter? Did it say Twitter or Facebook?
Both.
No, for both? Okay, for both, for Twitter and Facebook, it's?
Club Africa.
Club Africa, okay. All right. With a?
K for Africa.
Oh, so Africa is spelled
A-F-R-I-K.
All right. Okay, brilliant. Look here, congratulations on the work that you both are doing, and all the other members of Club Africa who have decided to start this on the university campus and to see it through. I know that the teething pains have been what they've been, but that you're working very hard in ensuring that this is launched, that this gets off the ground. So congratulations, Lisa, and thank you so much for putting this together along with the team, Alicia and Charles and all the others. All right.
Okay, I want to say thank you to my hard-working team. It's hectic time of the year now. Everybody's making an effort. Everybody's sacrificing and contributing in what way they can, both to the students, the current executive members, and the staff advisors. I want to say thank you very much.
All right. What are you both studying at UE now? Lisa?
I'm studying accounting and econ.
Right.
I'm in my third year of university. This is my final lap. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, and who is it? That was Lisa or Alicia?
This is Alicia.
All right, okay. And what are you studying, Lisa?
I am a Spanish major and I do a minor in international relations.
Okay, congratulations on that. You're going to assist in teaching Spanish, I'm quite sure, shortly to the staff of IRFM. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're doing a wonderful job, all right?
Right, we just like to announce that this Thursday, Club Africa will be participating in Club Fusion. It's a big event. It's sort of a market of clubs that the university has, and it's just for all the clubs to promote themselves. So it will be taking place on the lawn across some juicy patties on the inside of the ring road. That big beautiful lawn right there. And this is we have a tent out there, so persons can come on and look at our display, sign up, register, all of that.
Right, and this is this Thursday. What time?
2 to 4:30.
2 to 4:30, Club Fusion on the University of the West Indies campus, where all the clubs are coming together. Club Africa will be part of that. Did you manage to get your artifacts, your things to decorate your...
But we're still in the process of procuring them. We're still open to help.
All right. Muta and Jackie. Muta Babuka, baby can assist. All right? I'm just doing that. I'm doing that. I haven't spoken to him, but I know he can. All right. Thanks so much. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Lisa Sutton and Alicia Richards of Club Africa, the University of the West Indies New African Club, to be launched at UA by the UA Students Club. Brilliant. And while we're talking about schools, let me just quickly tell you.
Daughters of Africa were captured and carried away.
The Conscious Reggae Party School Tour launch, Ashanti Oasis Vegetarian Restaurant, 12 Bremer Avenue, that's off Trafalgar Road, is happening on Friday, September 19, featuring Iwayne, Jabooks, Exile the Brave, Wildlife, Kitties, Oyende, Joe Family, Zeflon, did I get that right? And many more with live bands, messengers and revolutionary speakers. Showtime is 7 p.m. It's a revolution. And so it's a Conscious Reggae Party School Tour launch happening at Ashanti Oasis Vegetarian Restaurant, 12 Bremer Avenue. And of course, that is off Trafalgar Road on Friday the 19th. Is it a checking account or a savings account? I don't know, but I can ask that.
Please find out for me. And the thing, is it by the Repatriation Committee? And I have a name of one of the writers, Candice Francis. Camille Francis.
You see, we never asked you for another name. The question I asked you, answered it wrong. Right?
Okay, what is that's the name of the committee that's doing it.
Yes, so think again. Say it again.
The Jamaica Repatriation Committee?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I want to give it to you, a discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National.
Okay.
What? You tell me.
Repatriation Committee.
No, it starts with B. By,
okay.
Send.
Partisan.
No, hold on.
I want the book somebody don't understand.
And I want to give it to you. I don't know about it. So, it's Jamaica. Hold on now, listen. Jamaica, the debate over reparation for slavery. A discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National by sent.
Partisan.
Me can't give her.
No.
All right, so give me one of the authors.
Camille. That's the one I know. Camille. Francis.
I wouldn't have no Camille. Where are you calling from?
I call from Madison.
What's your name?
What about Murphy? Miss Murphy.
Murphy. I just like the way you do your thing, You just latch on either the first name or the surname, and that's good.
I keep my notes. Right now, let me go short and I can't read.
So what Murphy you have there?
I have, like a run, Janeca.
Is that with K?
Kanish. K-A-N-E-K, K-I? Or L-I?
It's N with A.
L-A. Okay, I spelled it wrong then. But I put her, yes. But I know, it's not Camille the other one name?
Kamika. It's Kamika
Francis.
Right.
Just like your girl at your station.
The girl here is Kishima. You know, listen,
okay.
you know what's happening?
Listen to me now.
I'm good.
Put that book for me, man. Please, I really want to read this because you know what? Seeing that I live on the continent for 3 years in the villages and stuff, I really want to read this book. This book needs to come into my collection. You know.
I'm going to give it to you. Professor Vereen Shepherd is a teacher, and I know that she's probably saying to herself, you know, I should at least let you answer something, right? But I'm going to.
Miss Shepherd, please forgive me, but you know what? I'm on the bandwagon. I'm seriously on my portion of my side here, boy. I have so much information, but you know, one of these days we're going to get together.
All right,
and I need you to do something for me, Miss Kabu.
What's your name? What's your name?
It's Marva. Valentine.
Marva Valentine, and I recognize the name. You're on my Facebook. You're on my social media somewhere. Yes. All right, great. Okay, so what do you want me to do for you?
I want you to interview my sister Fanai. Some night, my sister from Florida. No, well, she's relocating here, and she's on the Rastafari TV committee.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
That's my good sister, and I hope she's listening this morning. Hi, Fanai, if you're listening, sister, love.
As a matter of fact, Barbara Blake Hanna did ask me to do an interview with her, and yes, I'm very open to doing that interview. So
I told Jerry too. Just get on it. I mean, she's been doing this from in our bedroom closet from 17 years ago. I was on the phone with her at night when she started the website.
All right, brilliant.
So it's really something interesting, you know.
Send me her details on Facebook or send me an email.
I will do that.
But Marva,
I will link you up.
Marva, you have a copy of the book, all right?
Yes, give thanks.
All right, so call us tomorrow.
And big up Aisha. I can't wait for you to reach home. South Africa must was well loved. I can't wait for Martha to reach.
All right,
so
thanks, my sister.
Reason. All right.
Just take a stock and you will see what
all right, well, I've made up my mind that I'm not going back home with the books and I'm not going back to my office with them. We're giving them away today. Jamaica and the debate over reparation for slavery, a discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National Bicentenary Committee. And the committee included Vereen Shepherd, Ahmed Reid, Cavell Francis, Kamika Murphy, among others. We have one more book to give away. Right. What's the easy question that I can ask, Julia? What's an easy question I can ask, you know? All right. What's the name of the book? What's the name of the book? Look at it. I call you and been asked a question. All right. Oops. Oh, you're gone? All right. We're taking your calls, 974-507950. You cannot text me. I can't take the calls on text or... All right, so we have somebody asking if there are no books for the Twitter family. All right, we're going to find a way to make the books available to the Twitter family. Just that we have to figure it out. Okay, so in the meantime, we're taking your telephone calls on this book. All right, what's the title of the book? All right, as we go to the phone lines, Hotep.
Hello.
Hi, Hotep, my sister.
Yeah, my name is Dalion.
Hello?
The name is Dalion.
Darian?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right, brilliant. What's the title of the book, Darian?
Britain's Black Death.
That is Hilary Beckles' book. Right, what's the other one? To start with Jamaica and they?
I don't know that one.
All right. We're reading Britain's Black Death in the Running African Book Club, so that's good. But this is not the one we're giving away today. All right, thanks.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see if we can give away this book today. Jamaica and the debate over reparation for slavery. If you remember that, you're good. A discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National Bicentenary Committee. All right, so give me one of the names from the committee, one of the authors of the book, and we'll give you a copy. All right? 974-5079, 5051, 5043, and 1-888-991-4152. We have time to take just one more call, by the way, or probably two. And of course, you can't answer that question on Twitter. No, quite a few answers coming in on the social media, but we are not going to take them that way today. Let me go back to the phone lines. Hotep?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, Andrew.
Yes.
One of the authors is Kamika The discussion for reparations.
Yeah, start with Jamaica. Jamaica, Andy?
Andy, I don't remember the Andy.
All right. Jamaica on the debate over reparations for slavery. A discussion paper prepared by the Jamaica National Bicentenary Committee. Right. And you got Kamika Murphy right, so the book is yours. What's your name?
Kishane.
Kishane, what
Tucker.
What's the name?
Kishane Tucker Scott.
Kishane Tucker Scott. And you're calling from?
Spanish Town.
Spanish Town. All right. I wonder if did they take your name and number already outside?
No, they didn't.
Well, hold the line for me. We'll get our producer to take your name, and you are a winner. All right?
Thank you.
Okay, read it now and share it with your community.
I will.
Hold the line. All right, so there you have it. We've given away 2 books today. Jamaica, the debate over reparation for slavery. It's a book. It's also one of the books we're reading in the Running African Book Club. The other book we're reading in the book club is Britain's Black Debt, Reparations to Caribbean Slavery and Native Genocide by Hilary Beckles. All right, while I was interviewing Miguel Lauren, one of my colleagues ran from his house. I won't tell you what he was wearing, but I knew he ran from his house with this CD, and he said, I wanted to catch you before you finish the interview, but you finished the interview, so here you are. Here's the song. And he said, Muta is playing it. It's a really nice song by Wanda.
Yeah, man, this is Clive, a.k.a. Chris Zobo, you know. One, you can give me a minute to make a talk to your listeners, them. Yeah, man, this, I talk to Muta listeners from Jamaica, US, Britain, and the world, you know. Especially the one them that on YouTube and Butte-based and Roman channel. You know, for over 20 years, Muta, I highlight problem them and I get solution. But, you know, I face black people, but Muta alone can't do it alone, you know. But all we do, as them listening, we do, we talk and we complain amongst ourselves and pass blame and we the government, white man, rich man, and Jah and Jesus to solve them. Black people, if you know, say, and a responsibility, so other people solve them problem, you know. And you know, say, the man we have been put by his neck, now take it off and let you lick it off and pump him in the face and stick in a thing short. Government is doing good, you know. Because you see them a drive Pajero and the regular artists, them alright, because them don't make it. And you see them a pop champagne, flat BMW, and a be a big mansion, but, you know, them not be no factory for employee, you know. The problem that I face working and poor class don't affect them. Well, I can't believe how fool on be, you know, they wait for same people who cause the problem to fix it. We complain about foreigner buy up Jamaica, but instead, we buy up Jamaica, we buy up foreign goods. You don't know where the things say, then get the money from. I see your money when you buy them goods, then use back and come buy up Jamaica to use against you. We complain about Monsanto, but we shop at the supermarket all the time. And we don't even try to create our own supermarket that we sell our own organic food. So we leave it up to them to solve our problem with them create. Marcus Garvey say, if you can't do what other races do, you know, we don't deserve to die. And that is exactly what happened to me right now. If you can't own the wholesale like the Chinaman, we don't deserve to stay poor and jobless. If you can't own the multinational like the white man, we will stay at the bottom of the political and economic system and big IMF. You can't own the big farm like Monsanto. You deserve to die from cancer and death of famine. Muta give you no solution to your problem. But Muta, you alone don't have the money to solve the big problem, yeah. So if we put the money together, we can create the big man, big corporation, or big business that will represent our interests and agenda to work to solve our problem. I say, me don't say already, you know, if 1,000 Muta listener put $1,000 US. That's $1 million US, 100 million Jamaica can set a foundation, start a business. We are going to invest in building and expanding black business like farm, supermarket, car creator, transportation, etc., which will provide wealth and jobs amongst our own by ourselves. Talking and complaining is good, you know, because they highlight the problem. But it's time to build business and structure to solve the problem that we complain about so much. Every race have them structure set up. That is why you can see Chinese come from China, set up shop, and stock it out with all Chinese need. All a black man know to do is just be a buyer. You can't even blame the Chinese, because you're not doing it for yourself anyways. My solution, I know the be all and all, but it's one thing that is in your power to do and can create a system that will outlast us all alive now, you know. Muta is the only man in Jamaica I feel that is trustworthy. That is why I'm willing to invest $1,000 US in him to set up a business to build our system. There must be at least, 1,000 of him listeners who believe in real self-reliance. If not, I guess that Jamaican is doomed to want to be beggars. $1,000, I don't know, why? Because, Jamaicans spend more than that on ganja, liquor, bleaching cream, clothes and car and big house, etc. In overconsumption. If you don't have 1,000, then you know what? Can get 10 people to join you as one then. So we want all the serious Muta listeners them to email muta@irfm.net. Call up and tell them say, you're ready to invest in him to build a phone system. So that means want to the people in Muta.
Blessed man, give thanks. That sounds serious. That sounds very